Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you guys doing today? I hope you are doing well. I am back. I think I get to stay at my house for a while, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I actually do. I will talk about all of this in just a second. I am just very glad to see all of you. And, oh boy, it has been a year. It has been a year since one of the most frustrating days in this process. As of course it has not been a year in the Vick saga. It has been much, much longer in the Vick saga, but it has been a year since the TCPA hearing in which everything seemed to go wrong. And there I was. There I was, unable to do anything about what was happening as just a mere observer in a courtroom, which is never something I want to actually be. Being an observer in a courtroom is boring. I don't want to do that. But I was there. I was there in the courtroom. I got to see firsthand some very confusing activity from a very weird judge. And I got to see the case kind of fall apart at the TCPA hearing. And of course, what has happened since then has been one issue after another of trying to claw back from the struggle that was September 6th, 2019. Now, this is one day late, and I apologize. However, I was not home until this evening because every Labor Day, my family and I go to a camp where we spend some time together as family and kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of day-to-day life. So that is what I am back from, but I do believe I will be streaming normally for the foreseeable future. I don't have any trips planned. However, let me, if I maybe can diverge from Vic for just a minute as people come in, and people do come in really for the first several minutes. Lots of people are getting notifications and showing up. So if you'll just indulge me for a minute, because I don't want to have to go back to the beginning over and over and over as people come in and say, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? I will get to all the whatabouts as we go. I hope. But a brief personal story. So as you guys may or may not know, I was in Florida visiting family for most of last month, and on the way back, a pipe burst in my house, and I was informed by the people who were checking on our house. They caught it relatively early, which was nice. However, a bunch of water got into our floor, which is a wood floor, so that's great. And now I have giant machines in my house trying to dry out what can be dried, but the ultimate verdict is this. The floor has to go. Just outside of my office, a wall has to go. And that wall has a bookshelf on it with 1,000 books. I don't know how many there even are, but it's a whole wall and it was full of books. So thank goodness none of the books got any water damage, because some of them would be really, really hard to replace. Well, at least I don't think they got any water. I suppose I shouldn't say this live. Maybe they're all burned and gone and dead. Reimburse me for them. No, as far as we know, none of the books received any water damage. We were very, very fortunate. But the water went into the wall behind the bookshelf. And so they have to pull that off, and they have to take out the insulation from there so that they can, because the insulation will mold. So they got to take that off, and they got to put new drywall up. It's a huge mess and a hassle. But the worst part's actually the floor, because the floor is my kitchen floor, and my kitchen floor runs under all of my kitchen cabinets. So the floor doesn't run up to the cabinets, it runs under the cabinets, which means to replace the floor, they have to take out the whole damn kitchen. All of it has to go. So, I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know what kind of disaster that's going to be. But I am going to not have a kitchen for some period of time, maybe starting tomorrow. We'll see. But I believe even... So the short story, the short part of that is, I don't know if I'll actually be in my house, but I do think even if I'm not in my house, if I have to go somewhere else, I will come back home and do the streams. Because streaming from anywhere else is like, oh God, I don't even know. I don't know. It's like trying to defend a car dealership in Kenosha. I hate it. I hate streaming from away from home. So, there should be consistent weeknight streams, every Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. for the foreseeable future. There will also hopefully be some, get vinyl floors next time. Not a chance. There will also hopefully be some extra daytime streams, and I can think of one right now that I am trying to lock down, and that is at 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday. And the reason there will be a stream, should be a stream at 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday, is I am following the Sophie case. I hope you guys have heard of Sophie down in Texas, a little 9-year-old girl who is reportedly being abused. And her dad is fighting for custody, and it's moving really quickly. There's a lot of stuff going on. In fact, there were just updates like today. There is a hearing on a restraining order on Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. So the hearings are allegedly all being streamed live. So we will be watching that hearing. We will be watching that hearing live. I will talk about, any information we can get. I want to see what's going on. It's a family law case, and the filings, to my knowledge, have not been released. So we don't know, actually, I don't even know exactly which protective order this is, but it's pretty interesting. So if you want to come to that, come do so. And then what we did last time was we watched the video live, talked about what could happen. There's not as much commentary during the thing because I don't want to talk over the judge and the lawyers that are talking. They can't hear me, but I want to be able to hear them, and I figure you guys do too. And then afterwards, we go ahead and I give my thoughts. And, if anybody has any questions that I'm able to answer, I go ahead and try and answer those. But that will be Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. Central Time is the next hearing. And I'm going to try and catch all of those hearings. And then as we go and kind of get into that type of rhythm, I'm hoping to add in daytime shows here and there to do stuff like that, or to catch interviews with people who are not able to call in, this late at night because they have daytime jobs. I'm thirsty out of my mind because there's a giant freaking dehumidifier right on my door. All right. Other brief announcements before we get fully into this topic. I had an interaction over the weekend with Dean Cain, who is Superman from the show Lois and Clark. If you guys remember that. Dean's an interesting guy. I believe he is also reviled as Superman by a bunch of the woke comic crowd. But I had a brief interaction with him on Twitter, and I think I'm not holding him to this, but we have a tentative agreement to do a show sometime soon together. So this week is off. He is busy this week, but perhaps next week I will let you know as soon as I have that locked down. I would really like to have a chat with Dean Cain. The idea will be to talk about culture, where it was when he did Lois and Clark, where it's going, where Superman was when he did Lois and Clark, where that's going, you know, all of that stuff, and just talk about where Escape is, where we are as a people and how we interact, all of that stuff. So hopefully we will be having a show on that with him, not this week, but next week. Woo! So, what else do we have? Do I have any other announcements? I don't know if we have anything else before we can just go ahead and get started on this Vic stuff. Let me say out the gate, if you're looking for like new thing in the Vic Mignogna case, SJW's destroyed, no, there isn't news. I've gotten a lot of people are getting very, very antsy on this. And so I'm going to be upfront with it. There is no hiding the ball here. There's no big announcement coming or anything like that. If you are here to find out what the new news in Vic Mignogna's case is, the ultimate story, if you've somehow missed this for the past several weeks, and by several I mean like 7 or 8 weeks, Vic's case, his appeals case, will be taken on papers on September 22nd. That means there will be no oral argument. It'll be taken on September 22nd. The appeals court can theoretically rule at any time after taking the case on papers. They could, in theory, rule on September 22nd. They likely will not. It is more likely they will be somewhere in a 20 to 60 day window of ruling on the case. All right? So don't get your hopes up for anything super fast, but it is possible that they could rule anytime from September 22nd on. It could be longer than 60 days. It could be 90 days. It could be 180 days. We really don't have a definitive timeline. It's when the appeals court gets to it. COVID has made everything weird. Now, a brief note about the no oral argument thing. I want to caution anyone who immediately wants to read into this. Now, most of you have heard me say this. We've talked about this back when this happened. But if you happen to miss it, and if you did, that's okay. But a note about the no oral argument thing. Before you read into it, the Second Court of Appeals, which is the court that Vic's case is in, has not granted oral argument since February. They're just not doing oral arguments. Some circuits are doing Zoom appeals hearings and allowing oral arguments. These guys are not. So as far as I am aware, there haven't been any oral arguments since February, and they have not. So it's not like they looked at this case and decided not to do oral argument. That was the initial theory of Mike Dunford. I guess that's a possibility still, that it just so happens that they haven't done any oral arguments, but they looked at this one though and decided not to do oral argument. But it seems like that is just a result of probably COVID. So that is where that is. So we will not know anything new about Vic's case, most likely until sometime after September 22nd. If something comes up, of course I will cover it. Of course I will cover it. So that is For the people who are unaware and are looking specifically for that tidbit, there you go. What we will be doing today is I will give a brief history of the case and my involvement in the case, because that's where my history is, basically. I mean, I know there's a little bit beforehand, then there's when I got involved, and I will tell you, kind of the story of the case as we go through. We can relive the last, 18, 19 months. And then, oh my goodness. Gassy. Up here, not down there. Up here. Then I will take us up to where we are today. During this time, there will be an Ask Me Anything going. All right? This whole show is Ask Me Anything about Vick's case. Anything at all you want to ask. And I will, to the best of my ability, answer that question. I was asked before the stream if you have to pay to ask a question. No, you don't have to pay to ask a question. However, I don't know if I will see it if you don't. And it all depends on how the chat is moving, on how the super chats are, and how time is going. So, I never want to tell people they have to pay, but it obviously gets a streamer's attention because YouTube puts it right in my face. So, but I will try and answer questions from the chat as time allows. If you have questions outside of this stuff, there are other ways to get those questions answered. You can always try messaging me and stuff like that. But this is an Ask Me Anything stream about Vick's case. The other thing we will be covering is what is the status of the case. What are the possibilities of what the outcomes are at the appeal stage, and and all of that stuff going forward. That'll be kind of towards the end of the show. Yes, man, 2044. No is the answer. All right, let me start with the chats that are already pending, and then we will get into this. Okay. The Pie Baker, he sent me a song. The problem is the words don't match the tune. So this will be difficult. But he wants me to sing this as Lemoyne, which is going to make me sad. Pie, Mr. Lasagna and Pie brought some air to my lungs, but my lungs were dry. Them actual lawyers drinking Daniels and Fireball, singing this'll be the day that I, Lemoyne, will get a con slut. This will be the day I get a con slut. So there you go. Thank you for that, the Pie Baker. In some ways, I hate every second of what that was. Sakaki Onside says, hey, Grift King, congratulations. It was so big that PPP destroyed his account in frustration. Anyhow, here's 20 new shekels. As far as Vic is concerned, I think he's got some big things on the way. Cannot wait to see. Hashtag Grift. And yes, I was not going to address this on stream, but I am the world grifting champion of the only official grifting tournament. I personally defeated the dragon, Anita Sarkeesian. I personally dominated Dick Masterson. And then I sex tape released Ethan Ralph, being the victor of the grifter tournament. So, don't even at me, bitches. But I was going to save that for tomorrow's show because I was like, well, this is Vic's case. I don't want to talk about that. But since you brought it up, yeah. But I probably will gloat about it tomorrow. But I will say, I fought very fair. I did not ask anyone to participate in voting in the grifting tournament except after Dick had already done that. Once I saw that that scumbag had come out trying to win the grifting tournament, oh man, I laid into that hard. But on the Ethan Ralph one, I did not ask anybody to vote. I didn't even know it was going until 2 hours were left. So it was fun. Good times. Good times. Okay. Deviant King says, so sorry to hear about your house troubles. Hope everything works itself out. Hey, man. It's the way life happens. That's the fun part of owning houses, right? Like, when you own a house and something goes wrong, it's your problem to deal with. I have insurance. Deductibles are fun. But, you know, it'll be everyone in my family is healthy. And that is all I can ask for. So, Lane K 1978 says, do IP rights have a chance to revert for video games like they do with other media? Yeah, it's just a really long time. How would work for hire apply if there's a chance for reversion? Like when a creator employed at X company pitches the idea and it's approved. If there's a right reverting, you know, to an original owner, then it goes to the original owner, who that is. The original owner typically is going to be the studio that owns it. If you're talking about rights like a public domain type thing, yeah, there is a public domain aspect of, you know, any copyright. It's the same rules for everything. Video games just haven't really been around long enough to enter the public domain. So there you go. But how does work for hire apply? It applies the same way it applies anywhere else. It's state specific at the time the thing was created. And then if it's controlled by contract, and if it's not in the contract, then it defaults to the state rule on work for hire at the time the creation was recorded. Matt K says, I don't recall Vick's appeal ever mentioning the fact that Judge Chupp specifically told Ty to stop objecting during the TCPA. Will the appeals court read the hearing transcript, and is it likely that they'll notice that? The answers to your question, I think your observation is right. I don't know that they wrote directly that Judge Chupp did that. And I am not the appeals drafter. So if you want to ask why they did or didn't do something, I don't know. I really do not. I know that there are several people still who think I am an attorney on this case. I am not. I never have been. I only know information that people are willing to divulge to me. I am a journalist on this case, a journalist who happens to speak the language of law, and that's about it. As far as like what the strategic decisions are, couldn't tell you. As to the next part, will they read the hearing transcript? I don't know if they will read the entire transcript. The hard part about the appellate briefs is that there are large sections of the transcripts and other places and other documents that are cited, but they're cited as part of the clerk's record. And without specifically going through each of those citations and pulling up the referenced article or the referenced section from the clerk's record, I don't know what's in there. Now, I have the clerk's record, and that is something I could theoretically do. It just would take forever. I don't know if that's something people want to like actually explore at some point. Because it would be tediously boring to go through and look at what every citation is, but we can do it. Like I said, I have a copy of the clerk's record that was used. So, we could pull up the references piece by piece, but I can tell you citation tracking is one of the most mind-numbing activities on the planet, and you would probably hate it as much as me. Whether or not they'll read that section of the hearing or all of the hearing, I don't know. I don't know that it's not really raised as an appeal point that the judge acted improperly specifically during the hearing. So I think what they're resting their laurels on is the idea that the rest of it was reversible, and that something like that is just incidental to the overall poor conduct that was, or the poor conduction of the hearing. All right. But a good question. Chris Shotwell says, "Hey Nick, love the shows. Can I get a celebratory shot for my 28th birthday today? Cheers." This is a little, I've already drank. I guess there's a shot left. We'll make this show interesting, I suppose. Is there no way to put a complaint in for them ignoring both sides' requests for oral? No. You do not have a right to oral argument at the appellate level. Woo! Animed Almighty, I am a lawyer. I'm just not Vick's lawyer. Okay. Next. That's to Chris Shotwell. Chris Shotwell and still lived. Thank you so much. And also, happy 28th birthday. It was a delicious shot. I am drinking, I'm starting the night with Peg Leg Porker 12-year Tennessee bourbon. It is fantastic. If you can get your hands on it, I would strongly, strongly recommend it. I also have Milo sweet tea in a cup. Okay. Bad Vibe says, the single most important part of the Vick case is to remember that the defendants and their allies did not seek due process. They used public outrage to cancel Vick, and they continue to attack anyone that interacts with him. That is something that needs a little bit of saying. Let me say it. Let me say it this way. Bad Vibe said it well. Let me add on to that. The purpose of the TCPA is to suggest that someone is using a lawsuit to silence their detractors. That they're using the power of the courts to silence someone and prevent them from their public participation. Never once did Vick attempt to silence anyone. He never asked for an injunction or a gag order. He never asked for them to stop speaking. He never invoked the court for anything related to the speech of the other parties. And he could have. He could have asked the court to have a restraining order about them saying specific things or doing anything. He could have asked the court for any number of things. It probably wouldn't have worked out very well, but he could have done that. He never did. It's actually something that happens with frequency in defamation cases. They ask the court to step in and stop people from continuing to damage their reputation with false allegations and stuff like that. He never asked the court to do that. Never asked anyone to be silent. However, the defendants in this case utilized the TCPA and social bullying to prevent Vick's story from coming out, to prevent the evidence from coming out, to prevent Vick from getting the evidence to back up their claims. They have consistently and repeatedly stated for now 18 months that they can prove their allegations. Yet, they have consistently and repeatedly refused to do so because they are cowards, they are liars, and they know it. And there's nothing else to say about that. All right. Kolfe, 2A wannabe Hunan Muhammad, says, all hail the Lord of Grift. Nick Rekieta, God Emperor of Grift. Pardon misspelling. I don't have my glasses on. It is pardoned, my friend. It is pardoned. You are pardoned. You are pardoned like an American in the Philippines who killed a transgender person and was pardoned by Philippines? Indonesia? Where's Duterte, the dictator? He just pardoned an American for killing a trans person. So you are pardoned for killing your spelling. Weirdo with a cello says, what's the courtroom policy on cosplay in terms of distance from regular clothes? Could Vic charm his way to an exception? And would Monica get shot by a bailiff for dressing as any character, including herself? Okay. Courtroom policy on cosplay is follow the rules of court decorum, which I believe most of them say no jackets, like overcoat type things, and no hats. Other than that, a court preventing you from showing up in cosplay may be a violation of your free expression. So they can't really do that. However, I would suggest that if you are distracting to the court in some sort of way, that you will probably be removed. Politely asked to leave. Could Vic charm his way to an exception? Quite possibly. I think Chup could go gay for Vic. And would Monica get shot by a bailiff for dressing as any character, including herself? Yeah, absolutely. So that is that. All right. Those are the chats we have. We will now move on. Oh my goodness. I need more tea. I need a tea reload. A tea load, if you will. Whew. Okay. So, back in January of 2019, several allegations were made about Victor Mignogna. All right. These allegations coincided with the release of Broly, Dragon Ball Super Broly, a Funimation dubbed movie in the United States, and Vic voiced the title character Broly. He has approximately 38 lines of dialogue, and 34 of them are like that. So that's about it. Anyway, the movie went on to be a rather large success for an American anime production, or an American anime dub, I should say. And it was, it received, I think, $30 million domestically and somewhere around $100 million globally for the dub itself. Very, very well-performing movie in the United States for a dubbed anime. The day before release, I believe it was, January 15th, 2019, a weirdo, which is a dictionary medical term, a weirdo by the name of Hanlea on Twitter, decided to tweet out to Funimation something about when are they going to address that they employ a known pedophile. It has since been discovered, if I'm not mistaken, that Hanlea was actually referencing, through a person who was telling her the story, a man named Ilich Guardiola, whom Monica Rial dated at one point. Ilich Guardiola famously got tagged for banging, I think, a 16-year-old, and then immediately ran to Vegas, and with the permission of the 16-year-old's parents, got married to said 16-year-old to avoid going to prison and getting banged himself. So that happened. So the initial tweet was in relation, I believe it's been revealed now, to Ilich Guardiola. Right after that, either the same day or the next day, a woman with arms longer than the Milky Way. And also in a similar Nazi spiral pattern to the Milky Way, decided to retweet and promote this idea from Han Leia. That is Mars Girl, otherwise known as Arms Girl. Formerly of Channel Awesome. Otherwise known as a failed content creator, video content creator. She signal boosted and promoted the Han Leia tweet, adding in some nonsensical stories of her own, and the rest is history. It was also picked up by a couple people you may have heard of. Jamie Markey, the voice of Somebody. Monica Rial, the voice of Pedobait. And also Jesse Pridemore, a serial liar about rape. Jesse Pridemore deserves just a special mention as one of the worst people on the planet, as what Jesse Pridemore appears to do is goes to events, gets absolute blackout drunk while slobbering all over some guy she is thirsty for. After they have sex, consensual sex, she then goes and actually, how do I word this? Continues to thirst for said guy. And then when she gets turned down for like happily ever after or whatever it is, I don't know what the triggering thing is. Maybe it's just when she sees an opportunity for some sort of clout or notoriety, she goes ahead and accuses them of raping her retroactively. As in, she just was unable to consent, even though she did consent and participated in the sexual intercourse actively. That is something that Jesse Pridemore has done to multiple people. And she used this occasion to tell her story. Interestingly, not at all about Vic Mignogna. Instead accusing Todd Habercorn of doing this. However, Todd Habercorn quickly released text messages that went ahead and showed that Jesse Pridemore was not an unwilling participant in any of this, either before or after the alleged incident. What Jesse Pridemore was doing, however, was attempting to latch on to the Vick case by suggesting that Vick approached her for sexual intercourse as well. That claim seems to have disappeared completely as Jesse Pridemore has waddled off into some remote cavern, only to come out later and accuse someone else of doing the same thing. I believe there's more than one person other than Todd she has accused this of, but that is a different story for a different day. So, in being picked up by Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, Jesse Pridemore, and then a bunch of other people whose identities cannot be verified, nor can their stories be verified, and nor do any of them have a shred of credibility. This thing went into viral mode, and a cancel Vic sort of movement started up on Twitter very quickly because of it. It's amazing what lies can do when they are propelled by coworkers who claim special knowledge. That would be Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, and then a rabid lapdog by the name of Ron Toye, who claims to be a sheepdog, but we know he's actually just a snack tray wielding cuck with no actual power. At the time, however, Ron was one of Vic's fiercest accusers, tweeting something like 400 times specifically about Vic in negative ways within the first month and a half of this thing going on. In fact, Ron Toye's pathetic hate boner has lasted so long that he is likely thrashing in his cuck shed right now, because I'm pretty sure Ron said that Monica doesn't even sleep in the same room as him. but he's probably thrashing in his cuck shed right now watching this, going, you know, I want to like Nick. He's a funny guy, but oh my God, he's so mean. Yes. Yep, I am mean. And you are still the most pathetic, unlikable creature I have come across in a long time. And it's just sad now, you silly, silly little man. Get help. Stop. Stop it. You are weird. And it's gross. Okay. And by the way, Ron, you really don't want people combing through your character. It would later be revealed that Ron is an abuser of women. Monica is never going to be, apparently, Ron's third wife because they have been engaged for basically ever, with no sign, despite having two really rich people with rather flexible careers. They just can never seem to find the time or ability to actually go ahead and get married. Also, there's a huge disparity in the amount of time each of them claims to have been engaged, which is laughable at best. That being said, not only is Ron exposed to be an abuser and beater of women, and when I say abuser and beater of women, I mean not all abuse is physical, and Ron is guilty of both of them, as revealed in court documents, as admitted to by Ron. Though he now attempts at every juncture to minimize the fact that he threatened to murder his ex-wife's dog and, like, give it back to her, that he threatened to murder his ex-wife, that he threatened to beat up his ex-wife's child, that he threatened to beat up his ex-wife's new husband, or boyfriend, I don't remember which one, that he threatened to murder a judge's child, all of these things. A very violent and socially disturbed man named Ron Toye is involved in this case as well. Thank God he's only like 5'3". So, where were we? Oh yes, the viral spreading. Spreading wider than... Come on. I can't do this. I have too many jokes about too many people. Maybe more whiskey and we'll start telling them. Cal Larkin says, I'm taking action. If you guys can help me get justice for my puppy's wrongful passing, I will be forever grateful. It's a GoFundMe puppy death legal fund with minuses between the words. So, puppy death legal fund. If you guys don't know, Cal Larkin's puppy was attacked by a pit bull, I believe, and did not survive the attack. So, if you want to go check out his GoFundMe, puppy death legal fund, and a hyphen between each of those words. So, I don't know if Ron is actually 5'3", guys. I haven't measured him. I haven't actually measured. That was mostly a joke. What I do know is that he is far shorter than me. And not that that means anything, but I'm pretty sure I could just put my hand on his head and he would never be able to get near me. Thank God, because he probably needs to stay at least 100 yards away from me or anybody else. And I mean anybody else on the planet. Oh, if you want to know extra creepy stuff, you can just go check out various Instagram accounts of people in this case, and you can find Ron creeping on all of them. And it's gross and disgusting. Ron, you're allegedly going to be Monica's husband, at least at some point in the future. She might be waiting for you to get rich. Stop creeping on women, you weirdo. Ron also is a user of OnlyFans. And I believe he has a Tinder profile. I haven't checked to see if he has a Grindr profile, but I'm betting. Okay. So anyway, this event starts spreading around the internet. And around January 27th, I believe. Now, my dates may be fuzzy because I'm not going to go through and like go to each specific date in the file. I don't want to do that. This is a story. This isn't an insurance report. So, I believe it was January 27th though. Vick Mignogna was put under investigation by Sony Entertainment. Okay. And that was a woman named Tammy Denbo, who is a human resources executive at Sony. And she investigated still the only things we know that Tammy Denbo investigated. The only things we know that were investigated about Vick. And I have yet to see anything else investigated at all. Remember this. This is important. There are only 3 incidents that are part of the alleged investigation. An investigation that for a month was touted as this thorough, meaningful investigation, quoting Monica Rial with dozens of participants. And actually, she said several investigations. Those were both lies. What we know is there were 6, at most, participants, including the investigator and including the Funimation executive who asked the Sony executive to do the investigation. So, that's it. That's it. But here are the 3 incidents that were investigated. And this is important because what people will say is, and have said for the past well over a year, is that Vick was fired for sexual harassment, sexual assault, for creeping on people, for doing something inappropriate with fans, for doing inappropriate things with coworkers. None of that is actually true. As for the reasons Vick was fired, there are only 3 things investigated, and so the termination must be one of these 3 things or some combination of all of them. Okay? Here we go. First, Vick is alleged to have kissed a coworker at Funimation. It later was revealed that that coworker's name was Sarah Breckenmeyer. Sarah Breckenmeyer. Breckenmeyer is an actor. I think it's Breckmeyer. Either way, it doesn't matter. Sarah has, to my knowledge, never said a single thing about this in any official capacity. In fact, Tammy Denbo was careful to not include her as one of the people who was talked to during the investigation. And this is important. Again, Sarah Bachmeyer. Thank you, Sakaki. Sarah Bachmeyer, to my knowledge and to everyone's knowledge, officially was not talked to by Tammy Denbo. Tammy Denbo, in her affidavit, listed the people she talked to, and Sarah was not on there by name, nor was an appropriate description of Sarah provided. She does not appear to have been involved in this at all. And it was also revealed in an email from Monica Rial to Karen Mika of Funimation that Sarah did not report this incident to Funimation, but that Monica reported it for Sarah, but not at Sarah's request, just that Monica brought it up. Okay, but Vick is alleged to have kissed Sarah. Now, Vick has maintained, and you can find this in an IO9 article, I believe. I believe this story is in there. But also, I believe you can find it in Vick's deposition. I'm not entirely sure where this has all been said by now. But Vick has maintained that that kiss between him and Sarah was consensual. Actually, after a somewhat of a relationship that had developed over a period of time. The allegation in the report was of a non-consensual kiss. Now, again, I have to stress that Sarah Bachmeier did not make this report by all of the information we have, has not submitted an affidavit, has not spoken publicly about this, and was not interviewed by Tammy Denbo. So, I'm gonna personally side with the only person involved with this who has spoken in that case, and that's Vick. Since Sarah has not said anything, I see no reason to believe someone else who wasn't there. All right. The second incident that is being, or was investigated, was an allegation by the Yost twins. And when I say twins, I mean they are literal twins named the Yosts, who are kind of known in some convention circles. I have talked to other people who know of the Yost twins who frequent conventions, and they are familiar with them. I will not repeat what they have said about the Yost twins. It was not particularly mean or nice. However, it was some context kind of to how any of this may have happened. I hope one day more information about the Yost twins will come out. I think if the appeals come back, that will probably happen. But either way, let's talk briefly about the Yost twin accusation. The Yost twin accusation is that after seeing Vick at several conventions, the Yost twins met up with Vick in a lobby of a hotel, that he invited the Yost twins, who were adults at the time. I must stress that. They were adults at the time. He invited the Yost twins up to his hotel room and eventually asked to get romantically involved in some level with the Yost twins. How much? I don't know. But they declined that, and then the story splits from there. The story that is put out by Monica and company is that there was an aggressive kiss, a forced kiss, before the Yost twins were allowed to leave. And this, I believe, is in the Yost twins' affidavit. The story, according to Vick, is that once they expressed that they were not interested in being romantically involved, he apologized for misunderstanding and said, they could go ahead and leave at that time. So, there's interesting information about the Yost twins. One, I must point out that their kissing story makes zero sense. And I hate to do that. I'm trying not to taint this too much with my own personal biases. But their kissing story literally just doesn't make sense. It says that he kissed one of them forcefully while they were both shocked and awed into not reacting. And then he went ahead and kissed the other one. Again, not only without their consent, but against their desires. I just have trouble believing that two people were kissed successively without either of them raising a protest or physically pushing Vick off of them or whatever. I have a hard time buying that. I don't know. Vick isn't that big of a guy. He's not little, but he's not a monster either. So I'm I doubt that occurred. I have trouble believing it. But again, I'm trying to be deferential here. But I also know how some of these accusations go, and some of them go, well, I didn't mind at the time, but now that I look back on it, I didn't want blah, blah, blah. Yeah, which I believe fucking zero. Okay. 2 more chats, and then we'll get back. I want to say one more thing about the Yost twins. Stacy Dealman says, hey, Nick, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. I just got home from work. Been working overtime since only 2 of us have been closing every day. Well, I'm glad that you have work, Stacy, and hopefully this show will help you unwind. Bad Vibe says, viral spreading. You mean like a casting call and a couch? Come on. No. I mean like Dominique Sky's OnlyFans. That's the viral spreading you don't want. Okay. The Yost twins. Let me point out one key thing about the Yost twins, which may or may not color your opinion of their story. The Yost twins, at least one of them, if not both of them, lived with Monica Rial and Ron Toye for a period of time. Now, why on God's green earth would random anime cosplay chicks live with a Ron Toye and a Monica Rial? No one knows. No one can figure out that sort of thing. No one can figure out how that happened, but it did. And yes, the Yost twins are some of the profiles that Ron creeps on Instagram. Sarah Bachmeyer's the other one. Gross, Ron. Disgusting. You are nasty. You are a literal pervert. Gross. Okay. So, the Yost twins, yeah, they 2 random anime cosplayers / fans just happened to somehow get their way into the home of a voice actress and a weasel named Ron Toye for a while. Oh, and Ron gave at least one of them a job. I mean, what is this though? What is it though? What even is an appearance of impropriety? I don't know. I mean, so what? They randomly let these 2 girls into their house, and then so what that Ron goes ahead and gives them a subordinate position at his company. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know anything about it. Okay? I have no idea why Ron... Did I mention that Ron started dating Monica while he was her landlord? Did I mention that? I mean, I have no idea why a guy who has a history of abuse of women, of controlling women, who also met his current woman by being her landlord and then dating them, which seems like a power structural difference that might be a problem if he were not being propped up by an anal fisting from the Me Too community who has to literally just suck down the sadness of defending Ron Toye. But in any other circumstance, they may have problems with this. But because they've propped him up for a year and a half, they just kind of have to go with it. I have no idea why that guy would do that. Why a guy who randomly, gave a laptop to some, young female. I don't know. I don't know why any of this would matter to anybody, but it exists. Okay, it exists. I have to point out that it exists. That it might be like Ron Toye kind of uses power and gifts as manipulation techniques over women specifically to achieve things he wants. I don't know if he does that. He just might. He only has a very fucking long documented history of doing exactly that because he's literally an abusive piece of shit. He is an abusive, awful, disgusting, horrible human, and Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, Dominique Sky, all these proud, strong women support a wife-beating man who routinely uses power and money to manipulate women. And they're fucking fine with it. This is all a goddamn sham. If you haven't fucking figured it out yet, they're lying. I don't know how else to say it. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. But, okay. Okay. We'll move on. That was number 2. First one, kiss in an office. Second, twins in the hotel room. Third. And this is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. This is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. The third incident investigated, and my God, was Monica pissed when I mentioned this. Monica was so pissed, she emailed immediately Funimation. Like, who did you tell about? This was never supposed to come out. Ever. My God, this is embarrassing for them. Okay. The third thing that Vic allegedly did is they were at a convention, Monica and Vic, next to each other at tables because they were friends. Did I mention that Monica has been like Vic's very good friend for a very long time and was just shoving a knife in his back and just twisting it around saying, "Die, fucker, die!" That's what Monica has been doing to Vic for a very, very long time because she's an evil bitch. And there's nothing else to it. Okay, so they're sitting at tables next to each other because they're supposed to be friends and they're at a convention and they're both signing autographs. So, on, I believe, Monica's table is a bowl of jelly beans. And Vic somehow asks for a jelly bean. I don't know how it happens. I've heard a couple different versions of the story. It doesn't matter. Long story short, a jelly bean is going to be passed from Monica Rial to Vic Mignogna. Okay? Very simple. Before doing so, Monica Rial takes her little Sharpie, takes the jelly bean, scribbles a signature or initials on it or whatever. Harmless. Throws it to Vic. Vic takes it. And it's like the idea is, are you going to eat that? Because now it's got ink on it. So you, with, you know, little friendly back and forth. And someone says, hey, aren't you worried that you're going to get poisoning from the ink, right? It's a toxic ink. Toxic. Why am I toxic? Toxic ink. And Vic responds with a terrible joke. It's not funny. It's not good. But he says, well, at least I can say I have eaten Monica Rial. That's it. If you're waiting for the punchline of the story, if you're waiting for the sexual innuendo, if you're waiting for the joke, if you're waiting for the, like, assault that must have followed, it's not there. That's it. It was a joke about eating a signature on a jelly bean. A joke that Monica would use years later. Years later! Monica would use that joke to say to an investigator from HR that Vic was harassing her. Sorry for yelling that. I apologize. He did not say eating out Monica Rial. He did not say smoothly banging Monica Rial. He did not say sliding the shaft into that ass, Monica Rial. He said eating Monica Rial, like as in vor, as in devouring a person. JK, no. Dogsplain says, at least he didn't say, I guess you could say I flicked Monica's bean. See? See? Much lewder joke. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. So, those are the 3 incidents. Kiss in the office. Twins in the hotel room. Jelly bean joke. That was on January 27th. And on January 29th, Vic Mignogna was fired from Funimation after an investigation. The investigation consisted of a phone call to Monica Rial, a phone call to, I believe, Ronald Toye, which makes no sense at all, a phone call to one of the Yost twins, if not both of the Yost twins, and then a phone call to Vic Mignogna, in which Vic denied any of the allegations. That's it. Importantly, we're still on the firing. We are not at the fallout. We are not at the defamation. We are on the firing of Vic Mignogna. Vic Mignogna. This matters because people don't realize this. I said it a long time ago, but I think it got lost in the shuffle because there's so many details to this case. It bears repeating. Vic Mignogna was fired by Funimation for those 3 accusations and nothing else. They want you to believe Vic was fired for all sorts of other stuff. But the Human Resources investigation only included those 3 incidents. Those 3 incidents, which he vehemently denied any wrongdoing, by the way. Only one of those incidents was at Funimation. And that incident, Vic maintains, was entirely 100% consensual. Oh, it's also important to remember that at the time of the investigation, Sarah Bachmeier no longer worked at Funimation. Which is probably why Tammy Denbo did not interview her, because she wasn't an employee of Funimation. And again, to my knowledge, Sarah Bachmeier has never made a complaint or a public statement about this incident. Ever. Okay. Now, what happened on Twitter is different than what happened for the firing. Funimation quietly fired Vic Mignogna on the 29th of January. Funimation would not announce Vic Mignogna's firing until, I believe, February 11th. Rooster Teeth fired Vic and announced it on February 5th of 2019. And Funimation made their announcement on February 11th of 2019. Although it had been sort of leaked, I believe, to Anime News Network that Vic was being let go by Funimation. Prior to that, I don't know. I seem to remember that being true. Basically, when the Rooster Teeth firing occurred, they were waiting on confirmation from Funimation officially that he had been fired, remembering that he had already been fired at this point. Okay. So, in the meanwhile, between January 29th and February 11th, there was absolute pandemonium on Twitter about Vic Mignogna, with participation specifically from Jamie Markey, and Monica Rial. And of course, Ron Toya is tweeting this entire time. But Jamie Marchi comes out with a story. Her story, again being completely implausible, is that Vic Mignogna met Jamie Marchi in the lobby of Funimation. And her original story left out a fact that she would include later in her court filings. But it left out a fact that later she would state she initiated a hug of Vic Mignogna. Now, she didn't put this on social media. Why didn't she put this on social media? Because she's a lying sack of trash. That's why. That being, I digress. She left that out. But in her court filings, she mentioned that she did initiate a hug of Vic Mignogna. Then she stated that after the hug, she was standing there, helplessly, apparently, and Vic ran his fingers up to the base of her, through her hair, to the base of her skull. So like this, splayed them out, grabbed her by the roots of her hair, not like the Kunta Kinte roots, but the roots of her hair, pulled her in close, jerked her head close to him, and whispered, quote, something sexual into her ear. She doesn't remember what he whispered. She does not remember how she got out of the hair hold, but she imagines, quote, imagines it must have been her shoving Vic off of her physically, saying, get the fuck off me. Apparently, he was no longer holding her hair when she did that. She would also continue to be friendly with Vic following this incident for the next 7-ish years, because there is no date on this. There's an alleged possible year that this occurred, but we don't know if that's the correct year or not. Now, Vic has, of course, denied this. In his deposition, he denied pulling her hair. He did say that he may have touched her hair, like bounced it. It's important to note that Jamie Marchi was a hairstylist who was changing up her hair. Vic was her friend. And that contact between voice actors, like physical, close contact, was commonplace. Hugs, friendly banter, and gestures were all very common. So it is entirely possible that Vic Mignogna touched Jamie Marchi's hair without in any way causing her any harm. That's not only possible, it's probably likely that that occurred. What seems unlikely is that a woman power ham beast like Jamie Marchi would tolerate. By the way, if you look at the women Vic has been interested in over the years, let me just say that Jamie Marchi doesn't fit the silhouette. In fact, let me go so far as to say that probably the grand total, all of their silhouettes would fit inside Jamie Marchi. Okay? Let me just lay out there that Jamie Marchi, even before she was fat, because now she's fat, but even before she was fat, was bigger than the women that Vic has dated. All right? I don't know how to say it politely, but you could fit multiple of Vic's past love interests into a single Jamie Marchi and have comfortable leg room to spare. Okay? All right. So, Jamie Marchi would endure working with Vic Mignogna for years and years after this horrifically traumatic abuse, but then one day bring it up along with everybody else at the same time, bringing up stories from forever ago that never seemed to be a problem until now. Monica would eventually have to one-up Jamie Marchi because at the end of the day, Monica and Jamie Marchi are still vain, catty women. Not that all women are vain and catty, but they are particularly vain and catty women, thirsting for and seeking an attention reinforcement loop, because that is how they succeed in their job, and that's how they receive positive affirmation from men. Mostly from weeb men who like high-pitched voiced anime characters. And then when they see Monica, they close their eyes as fast as possible and picture the lolly of the day that she is voicing, okay? Anyway, this is how they gain affirmation for who they are, by competing for the attention of someone. Monica, not to be outdone by Jamie Marchi's story, concocts a horrific story, which, if true, would be absolutely horrifying. The problem with it being true is twofold, which is many less folds than Monica and Jamie possess, but twofold. One huge problem with the story is that this story was not brought up as part of the investigation that Monica instigated with Funimation. And if this story were true, it should have absolutely been included as part of the investigation. Because if it's true, it's a criminal act. There's no way around it. 2, the other X to doubt on this story is that Monica Rial remains friends, not just acquaintances, but good friends with Vic Mignogna for a decade or more, actually 12 years after this allegedly occurs, which doesn't make any sense at all. The way she talks about it indicates that this is something that would prevent you from being near a person ever again, much less being good friends with, hugging, kissing on the cheek, joke, fun flirting with someone for the next decade afterwards. And that is a story that at, I believe it was IzumiCon, chaired by none other than the affable Stan Dolan. IzumiCon, I believe it was in Oklahoma, and I believe the year was 2007. We'll call it '07 because we're old now. We be old and shit. '07. Apparently, following the show, after the cast, basically the strike party, we'll call it. I forget what they call it, but it's when all of the staff of the convention kind of get together and wind down and have like a dinner. Vic allegedly invites Monica to his room to show her a project he's been working on. Here's another X to doubt on this. What he goes to show her is a musical called Full Metal Fantasy. Many of you have probably seen Full Metal Fantasy. Monica is in it. Monica is in Full Metal Fantasy. So Vic is bringing Monica to his room to show her the thing that she's in, apparently. All right. Because I guess she hasn't seen it. Like, is he trying to impress her? Hey, Monica, you know this thing that you were in that we filmed together that you probably have a demo copy of? Let's go watch it in my room. And she goes to Vic's room. to watch this thing. And while it's on, allegedly, Vic grabs her and starts forcefully kissing her. And Monica doesn't say no. That much is not actually clear because she tells the story 3 or 4 times and there are 3 or 4 different versions of the story. Because it didn't happen this way, I'm guessing. I'm just going to guess that it didn't happen this way because she can't actually tell the same story. But 3 or 4 different versions of the story. Every time it's told, it's different. Long story short, she either did or didn't resist, did or didn't say no, and did or didn't freeze up / push Vic. Don't know. But he allegedly pushed her on top of the bed. And then he allegedly climbed on top of her, kissing her. And then, according to Monica Rial, Stan Dolan opened the door. Or no, knocked on the door to get them to go to dinner. Because, believe it or not, Vic was engaged in attacking Monica Rial while they were about to be picked up by their friend to go to dinner. Along with the other implausible nature of this thing. Sorry. So Vic is kissing Monica Rial. She cannot move. She's paralyzed in one story. In the other story, she's fighting back. Stan Dolan knocks on the door. Vic goes to get the door. And in one story, Vic opens the door and Stan Dolan sees Monica's face and sees that she is uncomfortable and invites them out. In another story, Monica is ashamed to show her face, and so Stan Dolan doesn't see it and just picks them up for dinner like normal. In Stan's story, none of this is remembered at all. Like 0 of this story is remembered by Stan Dolan. Let me tell you what I think. I think Monica Rial and Vic Mignogna went to Vic's room and made out for a little bit. Very scandalous. I know. Just my opinion, based on what they have both maintained in this story, and Vic's response to the story is in the IO9 article about Vic. You can go see it. It's not under Monica's name. She used a pseudonym. And then Monica lied to the appeals court saying that she was... What are we going to do? Either way, doesn't matter. Okay? I believe that Vic and Monica were making out. I don't buy that he's showing her a thing she was in as if it's new. Like, oh, I'll go to your room, blah, blah, blah. I think they made out. I think after they made out, they were like, nothing here. Right? You know that thing. You've got a friend of the opposite gender or same gender if you swing that way. You have a little smoochy smooch, and it doesn't the fire doesn't ever start. And it doesn't go anywhere because the fire doesn't start. And you're like, well, we tried. That was awkward. Okay. Time to go to dinner. You know why I think this happened? It's all of the details of the story lead to this happening. The other detail of the story that I left out is that they went to dinner. And then after dinner, at some point, Monica goes back to Vic's room, and then they make a phone call to Vic's fiancée at the time, Michelle Specht, who is probably 1/5 of a Markey. They make a phone call to Michelle Specht, and Monica talks to her as if nothing happened. Now, Monica will say that Vic forced her to talk to Michelle Specht, which seems like a very risky and stupid move. If you just imagine, put yourselves in the shoes of this hypothetical Vic. You force yourself on someone. Then you go to dinner. Then you somehow convince that person to come back to your hotel room. Then you force that person to talk to your fiance. This is the biggest roll of the dice I have seen in my entire life. Like, why would you do this? Why would that be your plan? Yeah, I'm going to force you to talk to her. You talk to her. You tell her nothing happened. That's weird. None of this makes any sense. Unless the interaction between Monica and Vic was consensual. Then it all makes sense. Literally all of it makes sense if it was consensual. Going to the room to see the thing you already did makes sense if it's consensual. Like if you're like, oh, it's my friend. Oh, maybe I'm interested in him. That makes sense. Doing a little fooling around when Stan shows up at the door, interrupts it. Okay. Makes some sense. Being a little embarrassed by what happened, maybe. You go to dinner, you go back to the room. Makes some sense if you want to be like, hey, we need to talk about what just happened because that was kind of weird and you're seeing someone and I'm seeing someone and, maybe we shouldn't do that. Okay. Calling the fiance and not saying I just made out with your fiance makes some sense if it's nothing. If it was nothing, it makes some sense. Like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're just hanging out here doing this convention. It's great. No, we definitely weren't French kissing on a couch or whatever. It all makes sense if it's consensual. If it's not consensual, literally none of it. So, okay. All right. Back to this. So that's Monica's story. February 11th, as mentioned, Vic is publicly announced as being removed from Funimation in a three-part, I guess technically, tweet from Funimation that they have recast Vic in Morose Mononokean Season 2. They will no longer be, or following an investigation, they will no longer be working with Vic Mignogna. I believe it said in response to the Vic Mignogna situation. We've recast him in Morose Mononoke and will not be working with him in the future. There you go. Following an investigation. And then they had a follow-up tweet that said they do not condone harassment or something, abuse of any kind. Clearly not talking about Vic. Bad Vibe says, reminder, Stan Dolan was AFK from conventions for a while. Yep, he stepped away from conventions. Romeo Garbo, I missed this one earlier, says, Ron literally abuses women, kick Vic, but jelly bean. Yeah, that's how it goes. So anyway, Funimation makes a statement that was not required to be made about the firing of Vic Mignogna. That was February 11th. On that day, I believe I heard about the case and discussed it on my show with Doug TeNapel, who was a guest. And Doug was skeptical of Vic at the time. I believe Doug has since come around and worked with Vic on something. Oh my goodness. All right. On February 13th or 14th, I had a panel discussion with a couple people. Gator was maybe there. Hug? Flash? I don't even remember. Cody from Anime Outsiders. I remember Cody was there because Cody put me in touch with Vic Mignogna. All right? Cody from Anime Outsiders. We had a panel discussion about Vic because I didn't really know who Vic was. I kind of knew I kind of knew who Vic was because I like the character Broly. But I did not watch Full Metal Alchemist. I don't care about Ruby, JoJo, none of that stuff. Didn't watch any of it. Or in high school. Not my thing. Fine if you guys like it. I never watched any of it. Only character I knew was Broly. So I find out about this guy. They tell me about his situation. Cody puts me in touch with Vic. I had invited, he did that before the show. I invited Vic to come on that show. I had never met him. I just sent him an email and said, hey, would you mind coming on this show and answering some questions? Vic declined to come on the show, but he did ask me to read a statement on the show, which I read faithfully, mind you, just like Journey. I faithfully read the statement, which was something about being positive and light or something. I don't know. I don't remember. You can go find it on that live stream. It still exists. How do I word this? We did the show. We talked about it. And then I was contacted by Vic to ask some questions. I referred Vic to a lawyer. I did not solicit Vic for legal services. Vic is in a different state than me. This whole thing was in a different state than me. I specifically did not solicit Vic for legal services. I specifically said, I am not soliciting legal services. I am a lawyer. However, I am not offering to represent anybody. That was my first email. I want to be very clear on that. I mentioned that I had an attorney friend who had done work for people I know. And I referred Vic to Ty Beard Harris, Bullock and Hughes, to have a discussion. And at some point after that, I'm not Vic's lawyer, so I don't know the details. Vic hired Ty. Vic hired Ty and to do the case. I believe at the time, Vic had already engaged the services of a different lawyer who was removed from the case. I do not believe that that was the first lawyer Vic spoke to, but I don't know the details of that. Nor do I want to know. It's not my place to know any of this. Any of the details. I'm just sharing with you guys the chronology as I understand it. So, Vic had already had a lawyer. I mentioned Ty Beard, and he ended up hiring Ty Beard, I believe, somewhere around February 19th, 18th or 19th. At the same time that was happening, I opened a GoFundMe for Vic Mignogna. And since I am mentioning it, I am going to pull it up, because I think it's important that everybody see. And the timeline is borne out on the GoFundMe. Because, timelines are on the internet. February 19th, 2019. I believe that was the day around the time that Vic hired Ty. I don't know specifically, the time. What I do know is that on February 19th, according to this, I knew who, let's see. I believe I said I knew, let's see. Yeah, I am not representing Vic in a legal capacity, but I am aware of the team who will coordinate this fund to pay for Vic's legal fees. So I believe that Vic had hired Ty on this date or the day before. I don't know. I don't remember. I knew that at this point, I knew it. How's that? That's what I can say. Oh, we've got a shout out to Sean Ranklin. Thank you for donating $15 to that. So on February 19th-ish, somewhere around there, Vic hired Ty Beard. And at that point, there was some social media interaction, but nothing happened officially on the lawsuit front until April of 2019. Now, we have all these updates. The last update was October 16th, 2019, in which I mentioned the first lawsuit was dismissed fully on October 4th. The judge issued a 5-page opinion. They were appealing. That's really nothing significant in the case is happening outside of that appeal. So, I would suggest a couple things. I have not really pushed this GoFundMe since somewhere around October 16th. I've not pushed the GoFundMe because we don't have a victory. We don't know what's going to happen with appeals. The more probable outcome on any appeal is that the person trying to overturn the decision, which would be Vic in this case, loses. That's the more statistically probable outcome on appeals. You can't judge an appeal on statistics. You can't do it. However, that is the statistical outcome. So I have not pushed the GoFundMe for the reason of that. But what I can say, I can suggest, is that Vic's legal fees have not stopped. I don't know what they are. I know that Monica and Ron have claimed that their legal fees are around this or even in excess of it. I would assume that Vic's legal fees are in excess of that as well. I don't know. I have never seen an invoice. Those are private between the attorney and client. If the client wants to divulge the invoices to me, that would be up to the client. I would suggest that the client not do that if they were my client. But I just want to point out that those are private. Those are private things, and that's up to them to do that. Okay? So there's nothing, but I don't know. I don't know. A brief plug would suggest Vic could still use your help with this because, like I said, his fees likely exceed the GoFundMe. But I am not here to promote a GoFundMe or to push it out. I'm not here to shill it. It's not, frankly, I would like to see a good result before the GoFundMe gets shilled. If the appeals come back in Vic's favor, I will pimp the ever-loving shit out of that GoFundMe. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I will say now, just as a brief thing, if you support Vic, the money to the GoFundMe helps Vic. Still, even now, still helps Vic. But I'm not going to sit here and rah, donate to the GoFundMe. Okay? If it does come back on appeal, be prepared. We're going to have GoFundMe streams all day, every day. All day, every day. Not really all day, every day. That's a joke. But there will be significant GoFundMe streaming if it does come back on appeal. Okay. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention it because it's a huge part of this story. I opened the GoFundMe on February 19th, 2019. I believe on February 20th, it was, let me see. February 20th, Vic issued a statement confirming that the GoFundMe was real. Now, just to be very clear, all of the GoFundMe money, all of it, every single penny of that GoFundMe money went directly to my bank account in which I flew to Morocco to get a sweet bathhouse massage, and then I bet it all on blackjack and lost. That is exactly what happened. The GoFundMe, that's why every donation to the GoFundMe money, or the GoFundMe helps Vic, is because all of it went directly to my fucking pockets, and then the giant holes in the pockets, which are crippling Moroccan gambling addictions, took it all away. Why Morocco? Why Morocco? Why would you go? What? Am I gonna, like, some geriatric idiot? I'm gonna go to Vegas? I'm gonna throw my money away to a Disney-owned hotel? No, thank you. I'm gonna go to Morocco, where the real bathhouse action happens. Anyway, I of course am joking. Not a single penny of donation money to the GoFundMe has ever come to me, nor will it ever. $0, $0, 0 pennies, nothing. I will never see a cent of that donation money. It will never pass through me to someone else. I set this GoFundMe up that it would go directly to a trust account for the benefit of Vic Mignogna, held by Beard and Harris. I set it up specifically that way for a couple reasons. No impropriety. I can't even accidentally fuck with the money. Big thing. If I were to have any appearance of impropriety, I would risk my law license. I would risk being, charged with fraud. I don't like prison, and I don't like being disbarred. So those were huge things. So not a single penny of that will ever, ever, ever come to me. And for the record, Ty Beard has not hired me to do anything. Vic Mignogna has not hired me to do anything ever. Neither of them have control of my show. Neither of them have given me any financial stake. Neither of them have a financial interest in what I do. This is important. Ty Beard, I believe, sent a YouTube free super chat one time. The YouTube used to give out a $2 super chat for free if you were a YouTube Red member. I think they got rid of that. And then I believe another time, Ty might have spent $5 or $10 on, a super chat. However, to my knowledge, those did not come from the GoFundMe. So, if you want to talk about commingling funds, we could get into a discussion of how you trace money back. But to my knowledge, none of that came from the GoFundMe. But either way, none of that is ever coming to me. I am not Vic's employee. I am not Ty's employee. I am not on Vic's legal team. I am not on Vic's PR team. I think Vic needs a PR team. I think that the Funko Pop stuff shows that he really, really could use a professional PR team. I do. Or a marketing team or whatever. I don't know if it's PR or marketing or what, but an agent maybe. But I am not that. And I never have been, and I never will be. I don't think. I don't know how I would be qualified to do that. So, Sheila Allen, yes, I knew Ty prior to the whole Vic case. Although, let me suggest that the legends of Ty and I's relationship prior to the Vic case are greatly exaggerated. And I can tell you exactly what that is. In fact, I will. This is all public knowledge, okay? Ty Beard represents one portion of my extended family. in wills, estates, and other matters. Okay, I don't know actually what he does specifically, because outside of my personal relationship with Ty, he has clients that are relatives of mine, and it would be improper for me to know the extent of that. What I do know is that he represented the estate of my grandfather and now represents the estate of my grandmother. At the time this case was started, my grandmother was still alive. She has since passed away. Okay. Prior to this case, I have spoken to Ty Beard approximately 3 hours. Ever. All right? So, Ty Beard is a attorney representing some of my family members. Outside of that, I've spoken to him approximately 3 hours, which is more than I've spoken to many other attorneys on the planet. So being familiar with his competence in various areas, I made a recommendation to him as a lawyer in Texas who has a firm that is capable of handling this, matter. And now, when you refer a firm, especially a senior partner, to a firm, you're not referring an individual lawyer. So many people have tried to analyze Ty Beard's personal experience in something. Ty Beard does not act in a vacuum. There are several lawyers who work at Beard and Harris who have varying degrees of specializations, and not just one person works on a case like this. So all of that criticism or whatever, I mean, you can do with it what you want. But anyway, I knew a person in the jurisdiction of Vick who works on or who has a firm who handles this type of case. So I referred Vick to them. That's about it. There's a bunch of mysteries about Ty being in charge of a trust fund or something of mine. Let me be very, very clear on that. Ty, to my knowledge, has never had decision-making authority over any money I would have ever gotten from any family member. Ever. So you can try and read some things into that if you want. I know that when my family members have died, I know exactly how much I got from them when they died. It's a very, very small amount of money. Okay. So, I don't know what else to say about that. I can say this. I can say my grandparents, and my grandfather was very, very wealthy. Make no mistake. I'm not going to misrepresent that in any way. You can look him up. He's been doxxed or whatever. It doesn't matter. My grandfather was a very wealthy man. They helped me much more while they were alive than they did when they died. And I don't ever want handouts from anybody. So there's various allegations about my relationship with Ty. They're all wrong, and it's okay. It's fine. People will surmise what they think happened, but I'm trying to be a lot let's see, how do I word this? Trying to be as open with you as I can without, getting too personal on myself. Because that's what this is, right? This is an Ask Me Anything. And Sheila asked something about, I don't even remember the question, but something about did I know Ty or something like that. So, to answer your question, yes, I knew Ty, although the legends of our relationship is greatly exaggerated. Since this case has started, Ty and I have become much, much better friends. We we have spent a lot of time talking about stuff on stream, off stream. We've grown to be quite friendly. But I'll tell you, like before this, I'd barely talked to Ty at all. So, okay. No handouts. Cancel the super chats. Those aren't they are handouts. Okay, well, those are the handouts that I like. Am I a secret Jew? No. I am a Polak. Much, much worse. Okay. Where were we on these? Wendell 2020 says, "Hey Nick, shill the GoFundMe. Wouldn't it be cool if we got to 300,000 by the end of the stream?" That'd be great. The GoFundMe is at $283,817 right here. Brian Coates is the most recent donor. It would be really cool if we got to 300,000 by the end of the stream. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be very shocked to see $17,000 come in. But yeah, like I said, I've talked about my position on the GoFundMe, and I'm waiting to shill it until after appeals occur. Bad Vibe says, "Reminder, every donation to the GoFundMe causes Twitter quakes and supersonic reeing. Twit tears will flood the world." Yes, they will. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow there will likely be a smattering of analysis about what I've said today. It'll be stupid. It'll be great and stupid. I can't wait. Okay. Where were we? GoFundMe. GoFundMe started February 19th. And then the lawsuit was filed in April. There was a lag period. In that lag period, there was some drama with a convention called KameyaCon. Oh, this is a good question. Outer Haven NYC says, "What do you consider to be your most outstanding achievement as a lawyer?" I'll tell you very quickly. This isn't related to Vick's case at all, and it has nothing to do with Vick's case. My most outstanding achievement as a lawyer is I was able to get a restraining order against an abusive father who'd been abusing his kid since the kid was just about a year old. When I stepped in, the kid was 9, which means that for at least 8 years, the kid had endured abuse at the hands of his father. There had been 2 attorneys before me, several guardian ad litems, reports of abuse from doctors, teachers. None of it was sufficient to get the kid away from dad. And they called me as sort of a last hope, and I was able to get a restraining order and get the kid away from the dad. And the kid has been away from the dad now for almost 6 years. So that's my nut. If I die and have done nothing else on earth as a lawyer, that will be sufficient. That will be sufficient. And I would do it 100 times over. So, not to be an ass, but when people like mock my achievements as a lawyer, I don't boast about my legal prowess. Guys, I work in a small town. I handle very little cases. If someone comes to me with like a huge case, I refer them to someone else, because I don't even when I was most actively practicing, I was not equipped. To handle like these massive cases. I helped people do what needed to be done, and that's fine. But I don't boast about my achievements. So when people like try and denigrate my achievements as a lawyer, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me, because that matters to me. Helping that kid not get hurt by his dad every time he sees him. And I have a couple other cases like that. That one's the most important to me. So, yeah, like, I honestly, first of all, most people who criticize my record as an attorney can't read what's actually happening in the cases, and that's fine. They won't ever know. Most of my cases settle, and that is the point. And you'll never know what happened in those cases because they settled. That's part of the deal. Confidentiality on the settlement. But people who try and figure out like what the settlement means are often wrong, and that's okay. You don't know the information. I can't tell you the information. That's fine. But no one will ever take away what I've done for particular families or particular people, and that's fine. Again, let me be very clear. If I paid to go to law school for 4 years, and if I paid, well, it was 3.5, whatever, because I was part-time at first and then full-time later. Part-time law school is 4 years, full-time law school is 3 years. I did 3.5. If I paid what I paid to go to law school, and if I spent the time to go to law school, and all I did as an attorney was get that kid away from his dad, it was 100% worth it. So I don't care what if other people like want to attack my record. Fine, go save a kid. You go to law school and save a kid, please. That's not a smug thing. That's not like a haughty thing. It's please, for the love of Christ, go save a fucking kid from being abused. Please do it. However you do it, be a therapist, be somebody who saves a kid, because we've got too much kid abuse. Okay, that being said, let's go back to this. Let's go back to this. There was a little thing called KamehaCon. KamehaCon was a convention that happened in the Dallas area. And KamehaCon was a specific Dragon Ball focused convention. Kamehameha, right? KamehaCon. It was a Dragon Ball focused convention. They had invited Vic originally. It was one of the first invitees because the Broly movie was coming out. Vic was canceled from KamehaCon when this started. It was later revealed, due to no efforts of Ron, Toya, or Monica to comply with the discovery order, because they withheld these text messages from their discovery disclosures, despite them being specifically requested. You fucking liars. Ron and Monica were communicating with the owner of KamehaCon at the time, Chris Slatosh, who's no longer the owner of KamehaCon. They were communicating with him at the time and lightly encouraging, we'll say politely, him to drop Vic Mignogna once the allegations all came out. They were in communications before the allegations really bloomed up, and then their communications increased after the allegations really blew up. KamehaCon ultimately dropped Vic Mignogna. Then I got involved. And suddenly that changed. There was a fight on two fronts, so to speak. There was the polite request from me and thousands of you guys to politely urge KamehaCon to please bring Vic Mignogna back to the show. There were no threats, to my knowledge, of like, I won't go if you don't, blah, blah, blah. It was not that. It was just, KamehaCon, we understand what you're going through. We stand with you. Please invite Vic Mignogna to the show. Vic Mignogna was invited back to KamehaCon. And then Ron and Monica had an absolute menstrual overload in tandem on KamehaCon, and they canceled him again. This is prior to him being announced. They canceled him again. And then there was a simultaneous legal push happening from Ty Beard. I don't know the details of that. Again, I'm not Vick's lawyer. What I do know is that in the end, whatever happened, Kamea did in fact re-invite Vic Mignogna. They invited him for a third time, a re-invite for a second time. And Monica and Ron threw an absolute hissy fit. And Monica apparently got, because she threatened to do this, got 3 other voice actors of literal who fucking cares who these people are status to go ahead and pull out. One of them being the sister of a convicted child pornographer. Sarah, was it Sarah something? I can't remember her name. You guys surely know. Surely know. And that guy was great. That disgusting child predator. Sarah Weidenheft. Sarah Wiedenheft. Her brother shortly thereafter would be convicted for possession of child pornography. Good job on that guy for being a horrific degenerate, and Sarah Wiedenheft not listening and believing the children who were being abused at the hands of her brother, but you know, her defending him ardently. Anyway, she made a public stand against Vic Mignogna while her own fucking brother was jerking it to images of children naked, because he's a disgusting monster of a human being. Along with, I think, who was the other one? Damon Mills? I don't even know who that person is. And then someone else. Literally nobody. No one cares who these people are. But, yeah, so they left the show, and they did an alternative show at a game store in Dallas. It was a beautiful turnout. They had something like 90 people, maybe. Vic, meanwhile, had lines out the door all day at Kamea and had a massive, massive day. Just blowing the brakes off of everything. All right. Whew. Following that, the lawsuit was filed. I think the lawsuit was filed before Kamea happened, but after Kamea had brought Vic back. I don't remember the exact day, but sometime in that vicinity, the lawsuit was filed. And there's other stuff. There's other stuff that happened in there, but we're going to go on the main timeline because I'm already tangenting too much. Fast forward through a lot of mumbo jumbo and legal filings, and we get to, well, there's some depositions in there. You can go watch the depositions on my channel. They're the only place on earth you can watch the full depositions. And I make no apologies for that. And you do have to sit through my snarky asshole commentary because I'm the only person who has the depositions to my knowledge. Other than the parties. But yeah, they're there. They're the only ones for now. I don't know if there will ever be more. But you can go watch them. They're still up. The depositions are all there. In full. Unedited. Just with me talking over it. Those happened. And then a TCPA motion to dismiss was filed by everybody, all the defendants in this case. All right. TCPA motion to dismiss was filed. And then eventually, I'm not going to get into the legal back and forths and all of the minutia because it's not really important to what happened. September 6, 2019, there was a hearing in Dallas, Texas over the TCPA motion to dismiss. I was there in person. There were a bunch of people there. At this point, the case had grown in notoriety by quite a bit due to the other side eventually choosing to fight back on the social media front. The other side was getting their asses pounded harder than Damon Mills's victims. Actually, that guy's probably a bottom. Harder than Damon Mills. They're getting their asses pounded on social media. And they finally decided to fight back by employing something called Law Twitter. Law Twitter is a group of some lawyers and some legal orbiters. It's hard to figure out who's who because many of them are who cares. Law Twitter is an effort to capitalize on the popularity of certain people. The main one being a guy named Ken White, otherwise known as Popat. Popat had a very successful blog. He's a grumbly, witty, old school federal defense attorney, and he comments, legal commentator. Most of the people on Law Twitter are just people, like they're just lawyers or people interested in law, and they will do something. There's a group of people on Law Twitter who believe it's their job to police the legalese of the internet, and they were passed this case by a couple people, and a couple of them spread it around, and a lot of people on Law Twitter had a ha-ha laugh about it and then moved on. However, a couple people are clinically incapable of moving on and have stuck with it despite having no tangible reason to be interested in all. They have hung around, and that's fine. That's something they're able to do. What is interesting, though, is that these people act like they represent the entirety of the legal profession. And I have to clarify that they do not. They do not in any way represent the entirety of the legal profession. Or even a majority of it. And one thing you'll notice about these people is that they also have a particular political leaning, we'll put it, that is uniform. The level of disagreement among the people on Law Twitter commenting on the Vick case about general politics is almost non-existent. And you can take that as you desire. I'll let you guys choose that. I want to point this out. There is a big donation to Vick's GoFundMe. John Sargent has donated $183. John, thank you. Thank you. He brought it to an even $284,000. Very, very cool of John to do that. I really do appreciate it. Fantastic. Okay. But if you want to go into the Law Twitter saga, we're going to have to do a different stream on that. That is a whole other story of idiocy and debauchery. And I want to point out, guys, that Law Twitter has this weird thing where they all take the credit for one member of Law Twitter's predictions, and they all ignore all of the Law Twitter failures. Like, they cast those off. Like, oh, we got it wrong. No, that never happens. But when one person on Law Twitter gets something right, they all got it right. I have had experience with Law Twitter before, actually. In your boy Zach's case, with a guy by the name of Mark Zaid. Now, I want to point out something about Law Twitter and about Mark Zaid. One of the scummiest people I've I've encountered Mark Zaid. And I don't know about the rest of Mark Zaid's work. He might actually be a pretty important guy. But I know on your boy Zach's case, Mark Zaid was embarrassingly fucking wrong. And some middle of nowhere lawyer was embarrassingly fucking right about how that case would go. Mark Zaid assured the world that Zach, your boy Zach, would lose on that jurisdiction and venue issue. In fact, he taunted me over it several times. I've held off on gloating. But I was right on that one. But I digress. Mark Zaid can eat all the fucking comic books in the world. What a cunt. Okay. Damn it. No! I'm not supposed to say that word. YouTube has added cunt as a demonetized word automatically. Just one cunt and you're demonetized. Just so you know. Fuck. I was doing so well. YouTube considers cunt the same as the N-word. No, there's no update on Zach's case. Okay. I'm rambling. Here we go. Back to it. So Law Twitter is a separate saga to this whole story, and they're largely irrelevant to the case. They didn't do anything to this case. They have all they've done is a social media blitz. And it was solicited. Make no mistake. It was a solicited social media blitz. That being said, let's move on. September 6th, 2019. Like I said, TCPA hearing in front of Judge Chupp, the Honorable Judge Chupp. And I was there. I've said this already, but I'm going back to it. I was there. And what I watched on that day was a judge conduct one of the most frustrating hearings that I've been in attendance for. I've been in attendance for some frustrating hearings. That one was probably the worst. In which a judge refused to acknowledge evidence that was in front of him, refused to accept a binder full of evidence from one party after accepting a binder full of evidence from the other party. A judge which... One of the most egregious things that happened is that Judge Chupp talked with Sam Johnson, Jamie Markey's lawyer, about specific statements she made in the hair pulling incident. And Sam Johnson said that there were no fact statements in her accusation of Vick. And Judge Chupp specifically mentioned, well, if he pulled her hair or not, that's a fact statement, right? And if he whispered something in her ear, that's a fact statement, right? So there are some fact statements, right? And Sam Johnson was forced to concede, yes, of course there were. And then Judge Chupp turned to Ty and asked for something else. He asked for the defamation. And when Ty tried to mention a tweet, Judge Chupp said, "What else, though?" Ty said something about, like, not knowing, or I don't know exactly what he said. But Judge Chupp said, "Okay, dismissed." Now, at the break, there was a recess right after that dismissal. And in that recess, I believe they discussed that there was actual evidence of a defamatory statement that the judge was just talking about. So they came back from recess, and Ty tried to bring that up, and judge said, "Are you trying to relitigate something I've already ruled on?" And Ty said, "Well, no, sir." And he said, "Good." And they moved on. And that was when I really knew. And that was early. That was really early. That was when I knew they were in for a really bad day. A really bad day. Because Judge Chupp knew there were fact questions presented about a defamatory statement. A per se defamatory statement. And he just ignored them and dismissed it. So anyway, what ended up happening on September 9th was 12? 12, I think, of the 17 causes of action were entirely dismissed. The rest of them would be dismissed on October 4th, 2019. I actually have the order here pulled up. And I still maintain it's entirely possible that Judge Chupp dismissed all the actions because dismissing any of the actions was going to lead to an appeal. So he might as well dismiss them all and let the appeals court sort it out. Because I think fundamentally Judge Chupp is lazy, had no idea what was going on in the case. And also, I believe, and you can agree or disagree with me, Judge Chupp was trying to get elected to the appeals court judgeship in Texas in 2019. Judge Chupp had found out that same week that he had not been appointed to the appeals court and would have to actually run. Okay? One of Judge Chupp's opponents was a woman. The other one was a goblin. And if you want to see what I mean, you'd have to look up Judge Chupp's election. And the goblin ended up winning. The man with the face that could turn ships to stone ended up winning. Terrifying human being. But I surmise that Judge Chupp was afraid in an election year to take a Me Too case when he would run against a woman in a primary and to rule against Me Too. You guys don't have to subscribe to that belief. You do not. I believe he did. I will announce that Judge Chupp got absolutely bent over and ramrodded in that election. In an embarrassing showing. An absolutely embarrassing showing. But unfortunately, none of this can be proven or borne out. So, on October 4th, we have this motion to dismiss order, granting the motion to dismiss. It is 5 pages. We have been through it. I'm not going to go through it again. There's some interesting stuff about this order in which he specifically dismisses everything that he didn't specifically grant in the order, which means he dismisses some of the challenges to evidence without ruling on them and stuff like that. In which he may have actually denied the, technically speaking, Judge Chupp denies the motion to strike the Second Amended petition. I can't express how, stupid the whole ruling was. I've said that a million times, but I can't do it. His ruling is legal nonsense. And it's an impossible ruling. Okay, so let me let me just use this one thing. One of the issues in this case was something called the petition, or more precisely, the second amended petition. Your petition is your complaint. It is the thing that the plaintiff files to let the court and the other parties know what the lawsuit is about. And this is one of the main documents to make your prima facie case that there should be a lawsuit in the first place, okay? Your first amended petition happens in this case kind of early on. Now, once you have your petition, once you make an amended petition, your original petition ceases to be legally operable, and your amended petition takes over. All right? That amended petition becomes the legally operative document unless it is stricken by the judge for some sort of defect. The first amended petition was never challenged. A second amended petition was filed just days before the hearing, just like 2 days before the hearing. And the opposition kvetched over the filing of this document. They objected to it. They asked the judge to strike it. Now, at no point does Judge Chupp actually strike the second amended petition. Ever. He doesn't strike it. However, in his ruling, in the document I just scrolled through, Judge Chupp states that he did not consider the second amended petition. He also states that any orders not specifically granted herein are denied. Any motions, I should say. So they had a motion to strike the second amended petition. He never granted that motion. On filing his ruling, he necessarily denied the motion to strike the second amended petition because he never struck it, and all orders not specifically granted herein are denied. If the second amended petition is not struck, it is the legally operative document. Period. Now, how will this play out in court, in appeals court? I don't know. But I'm just trying to point out that this is what we call a legal clusterfuck. It's a complete and utter clusterfuck. None of this stuff was stricken, so it should all be admitted. Now, I don't know if they laid that out adequately in their appellate documents. I don't know. I know they laid out some of it. We won't know if they laid it out adequately until the appeals court renders their decision. I hope they did. I hope they did. But they had a limited word count. Either way, it doesn't... There's nothing we can do now. We just have to wait for the appeals court. But I want to point out that the legal system is messy. It doesn't just operate on a set of input-output rule procedures like a computer program. We want it to. And if it does, it'd be really easy to say who would win. But it doesn't. And that makes things messy. And some people want it to be clean, and it's not. And I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. So, to all the people out there who want a clean, simple answer of what happened, what will happen, there isn't one. This is law. This is law, baby. Law 101. You never fucking know how it's going to turn out. And anybody who tries to tell you how it will turn out is lying. Let me state a couple more things for the record. The YouTube record. I have never, ever stated that Vic would win this case. Not once. In fact, you will find several occasions where I state specifically that defamation cases are hard, that the TCPA is a huge hurdle, that nothing is certain in this case. There's always a chance to lose. And I don't know how that translated into me, the internet, deciding that I said Vic would win. Vic should win this case. I will say that 1,000,000 times. Vic should win this case. We know who said it. We know where they said it. We know when they said it. We know what they said. We know how it's defamatory, and we know how it caused damage. The only question left for the courts is how much damage did they cause? That's it. That's what we don't know. And that's where the court should be. How much damage did it cause to him? I would argue an absolute ton of damage. A ton of damage. It's obvious. He was canceled from tons of conventions. He will never work in anime voice work again unless he does something independent. But Vic should win this case. And that's not commentary on Ty. It's not commentary on the legal team or the whatever. There are a lot of armchair quarterback lawyers out there who will tell you that, oh, they knew blah, blah, blah. They didn't know shit. They didn't know shit. They still don't know shit. And the idea that you can predict the outcome of something that has so many moving parts. You can hope for an outcome. You can never predict it. So, did this case turn out the way I wanted it to? Obviously not. Obviously not. Do I still believe that Vic has a good case? Yes, I do. It's tough. It's a tough case. All defamation cases are tough. But we have the publications. We know what was said. We know what was said. The question is, will the court acknowledge it? The answer might be no. So I don't want to get anyone's hopes up on appeals. And I have been very, very reserved because people got kind of the wrong idea prior to appeals, prior to the ruling, in thinking that I was saying Vic was going to win when I was saying I hope Vic wins. I've been very cautious since that, because I never know. You never know how someone listens to you or doesn't listen to you, right? But I've been very cautious and muted on the appeals, and I don't know how they're going to turn out. Nobody does. Anybody who tells you they do know for sure, they're betting. They're gambling. They're gambling what they're gambling with is their reputation. Problem is, most of the people gambling on this don't have a reputation to gamble. They don't have, like, there's no amount of clout or whatever that they can provide. There's nothing that it won't cost them anything if they're wrong. So they can make a cheap accusation or cheap prediction. That's fine. And that's okay. I just want to encourage people. And some people are asking why I'm talking about this. I'm getting there. I have maintained for a long time, at the end of the day, at the end of all, the most important thing for Vic is not whether he wins this case. And I believe I was pretty honest about this a long time ago. I said, my goal has nothing to do with Vic winning or losing the case. Because I can't do it, right? I'm not his attorney. I can't be in court arguing. I can't do it. I'm not licensed in his jurisdiction. I don't want to be Vic's lawyer. I really don't. I would love to have that GoFundMe money, but it doesn't matter. Like, that would be great. Having a client who can pay is beautiful. But I'm not Vic's lawyer. I don't want this case. I never wanted this case. I don't want any. My goal, personally, was always this: that whether Vic wins or loses, people know that Vic fought back. People know that the defendants are trash. And the defendants are trash people. And that people knew that they could support Vic, confident that the defendants lied about him. That's it. That's it. So, Vic's ultimate success doesn't matter what happens in court. It would be helpful if Vic wins in court. Don't get me wrong. It'll be hurtful if Vic ultimately loses in court. Don't get me wrong. But the ultimate outcome of this case is irrelevant to whether or not Vic succeeds from this in the aftermath. That is entirely up to two entities: Vic Mignogna and you. That's it. That's it. If you like Vic, you have all of the evidence before you. You have 18 months of Ron Toye, Monica Rial, and Jamie Markey promising stuff and never, ever delivering it. You can go. There are 100 live streams of mine. There are depositions. You can watch these people tell their stories and make up. In one of the, like, this doesn't happen anywhere else in the legal system. Can you go and you can watch Vic, Monica, and Ron all tell their side. And you can determine, based on those things, what you believe. And if you believe and support Vic, his success depends on you and him. He has to get projects, make projects, do something. And then if you like him enough to support him, you have to support those projects. That's it. That's the end of the day for Vic. That's the end. That's ultimately, that's not that different from normal. There's just an extra step in there now where you get to review all of the evidence. Only all of it has been presented to you at some point. It's all on this channel. And you get to determine not what the legal system says, but what you say about this guy. And if you think that he's worth supporting, support him. If you don't, don't. I think a lot more people support Vic than don't. And I think whatever he does, he can be successful in. And I hope, beyond hope, that he chooses to do some things and make something for the people who have supported him this whole time. I know he's done an audiobook or two. I've heard about some other projects that may exist. There's maybe an ill-fated Funko Pop that's around. I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. I think that's overblown. But it'll be up to you guys and to me and to the person next to you and all that. If you like Vic, to support him. It really doesn't take, I have to say it, it really doesn't take that many people to support someone. It's actually a shockingly low amount of people. So don't give up on him. Don't give up on him. He's a good guy, by all I can tell. And here's some questions that I don't know if people are asking or not. Would I trust Vic with my wife? Absolutely. And would I trust Vic around my children? Absolutely. Vic has met my children, and it was great. They're fantastic. So, I will leave it at that on Vic. Vic's a great guy, as far as I can tell. I found the accusations against him to be completely wrong. The only credibility I can give to any accusation is pretty simple. Pretty simple. I think Vic probably acted like a diva at some conventions. In fact, I believe that 100%. Do I believe that Vic was an asshole to con staff at some point at some convention? Yeah. Absolutely. And I will say this. So what? Who cares? Everybody's had a bad day. That's okay. Also, everyone should be an asshole to LJ Montello, to Manjaw, to Jonatello, to Manjana, to that gross, disgusting human being. Everybody should be an asshole to them. They're a terrible person. A literal terrible person. Ooh, almost got drunk enough to say may they get cancer and die, but that sounded rude, so I didn't say it. But yeah, was he a diva and rude to people? Probably. I don't think that's a stretch. I think anybody who has ever been to anything has been rude to someone at some point. And if you reach a certain level, you probably are. I try really hard not to be. But I know my own failures, and I'm sure I've been a dick to people in emails or not responding to something. I am sure of it. I'm sure of it. And it's never personal. It really isn't. There's just so much shit going on. Sometimes you miss something, or sometimes you say something wrong. So, I don't know. But I'm sure Vic has been a dick to people in the past. But I'm also pretty certain that he has not actually sexually harassed or assaulted anybody ever. That being said, would I ever trust my kids around Ron? I saw that question. No. Not only would I not trust my kids around Ron, there's some special interaction there, right? Because Ron doesn't like me, which is fine. He shouldn't. Ron shouldn't like me. That's not a bad thing. If I was unknown to Ron, like if I was just a random person, I wouldn't trust my kids around Ron. If he had no idea who my kids were, like, so he couldn't do anything to them to hurt me. Like if I was just some person on the street and I knew what I know about Ron without ever having interacted with him, no, I would never trust my kids around Ron. In fact, I know people who have interacted with Ron personally, and like for a very brief period of time, and they wouldn't either. Their creepo meter went off immediately. So, anyway, that being said, Bad Vibes says, reminder, Vic has gotten at least 2 live action movies, one with Eric Roberts and one titled Circle of Stones. Check them out. He is also still engaging the fans the defendant supporters want to stop happening. Sprite Cola says, Vic's accusers have the honesty challenged behaviors that Amber Heard has, shifting nonsensical stories. If I could pick one person to have in my corner, Nick number 1. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's wrap up. We'll wrap up this story. I will go over to Twitch and we'll hang out. Vic is now at the appeals process, and there's no way to sugarcoat this. The appeals are an uphill battle. defamation was already an uphill battle, the appeals are more of an uphill battle. What movie? Nowhere to Run, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, 1992 or 3. I think it's 93. Nowhere to Run, Van Damage, full damage. That will be the movie tonight. Okay, back to it. Defamation cases are uphill. Getting over the initial hurdle of the TCPA is tough. After that, the landscape changes dramatically because it goes out of the hands of a judge and more into the hands of a jury. And discovery has to happen. And once that happens, things change. But defamation is hard, especially with a pre-trial dismissal like a SLAP or a TCPA. Appeals are harder because an appeal was ruled on by a judge. And now you have 3 other judges who were at some point probably that judge saying, do we really want to overturn? Do we want to second guess a member of the cloth? Because it's a religious thing to be a judge, make no mistake. Do we want to second guess a member of the cloth and overturn his decision? The answer might be yes, but the answer is usually no. They want the lower courts. They want the lower courts to have authority, and undoing that authority undermines the ability of the lower court to do its job at some level. Even if it's only a tiny amount, it says every time they overturn the lower court, they go, oh, that means we didn't trust the initial decision. That means that people might lose faith in the lower court to render a proper decision. There's a lot going into that, and you have to overcome it. So, the outlook for Vic is bleak. I will not represent otherwise. People have asked me for a percentage. I'm hesitant to give them, but I believe I am settled now on saying he has a 25 to 35% chance to overturn the appeal, or to overturn the decision on appeal. That is not based on the quality of the appeal documents or the opposition to the appeal. Nothing like that. It's just based on overcoming appeals. And that's a statistically sound number. Statistics are bad at predicting appeals. You should not do it. But that's where I'm lying right now. Laying, not lying. That's where I lay right now. 25 to 30% chance to overcome. And then if anything comes back on appeal, it's game on. And we'll see at that point. Like I said, I'm not going to hype it. So what happens? Here's a couple scenarios. If Vic loses on appeal, here's what happens. If Vic loses on appeal, they could petition the Supreme Court of Texas. And the likelihood of them hearing the case is about 1%, maybe less. So ultimately, if Vic loses on appeal, the most likely outcome is that the case is over. Case is over. If Vic wins a full overturn on appeal, this would be if the court determined, the appeals court determined that the second amended petition is controlling and is sufficient, and that demands that it passes TCPA, and then you go on to trial with the rest of it, or that there was some other defect at the TCPA ruling. If that happens and it all goes on, which is possible but unlikely, very unlikely, let me be clear, then the whole case goes through. All 4 defendants are brought back into the fold, and then they will go through with discovery. There will be depositions. There will be all sorts of shit happening, and there will be a massive plug to the GoFundMe because Vic will need all the money he can get at that point. Okay? If any number less then the full amount comes back. It really depends on what happens. It is possible to just get, for example, tortious interference for Ron and Monica and nothing else, and everything else to go away. The other 13 or 15 things to go away or to still be dismissed. Tortious interference seems possible to come back. Defamation from Ron could be just defamation from Ron that comes back. Doesn't really matter. Once one thing comes back, game on. Again, there will be depositions. There will be discovery. There will be any number of possible outcomes. I will cover whatever happens. But here's what cannot happen. Let me be very clear on this. If one thing comes back on appeal and nothing else, hypothetically, then nothing else will come back after that one thing. Okay? Are you with me? If, say, defamation against Ron comes back, tortious interference against Jamie Markey is not coming back. Defamation against Funimation is not coming back. If one thing or if 10 things come back, the other things are gone forever. There is no, even if during discovery they find evidence of all that stuff, they're not coming back. Unless they find evidence of something new. That would be a possibility. That's also very unlikely. Because they would have to show damages. They would have to show that it was a new thing. It'd be a mess. So to be clear, here are the three ways this goes. Nothing comes back. Most likely outcome. Be warned. This doesn't matter for Vick's ultimate success. This matters for the court and the court alone. The most likely outcome is that nothing comes back on appeal. The least likely outcome is that everything comes back on appeal. Again, this doesn't matter for Vick or Vick's success. You guys matter for Vick or Vick's success. The next most likely outcome after losing everything is that something comes back on appeal. And that could be 1 to 17 things. We won't know until the court rules. And once that happens, everything will kick back into motion, but there will be less cause of action. And that's it. That's it. So, those are the outcomes. If anything comes back on appeals, this case could take another year or more. Or more. If anything comes back on appeals, it is likely that the other party will petition the Supreme Court. And they will have the same, 1% chance that Vick would have. But those are the outcomes. But I want to stress the outcome for Vick, not for the court case, for what matters. What matters is the outcome for Vick himself. That depends on you and him. He has to generate projects, and if you like him, support him. That's it. It's no more complicated than that. And on that, I am going to wrap this up. Okay? I'm going to wrap this up. We've got some chats to go through. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Very glad to bring you this 1-year anniversary stream. I've been accused of doing too many Vick streams, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? I haven't done any Vick streams in a long time. But this one was important to do. The 1-year anniversary. So, we will do the super chats, the justice chats. If you have any last minute questions, you can go ahead and ask them. I'm drunk enough to maybe answer the non-super chat questions. I've tried to get a couple, but I've got a backlog of chats, so it makes it really hard to grab new ones. But if you ask them, I can try and grab them during the show. And then after the show, like I said, Twitch for Nowhere to Run with Jean-Claude Van Damme. All right. Let us do this. Will you ever finish Sekiro? Yeah, probably. I just hate it. I don't find it fun. Moisten my lips, daddy says roses are red, violets are blue. Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 commies, but only killed 2. Yeah. By the way, if you want to know law Twitter, just go look at them and their opinions of Kyle Rittenhouse. They think he's an automatic murderer. Okay. Okay. Crusader Saracen says, "Oh Allah, destroy the rapists, the pedophiles, and the Antifa communists." Same thing. "Oh Allah, the most merciful. Count them one by one and do not spare a single one of them." Monica's personal fiance says, "My transcriber told me to chat here instead. I have no idea why, but the record stands, Nikki. 17-0. In Lemoyne's voice, sing. In the tune of DBZ Kai Dragon Soul. I don't know if you know the tune. Vic sang an English version of this. No, I don't know the tune of DBZ Kai Dragon Soul. Don't stop. Don't stop. We're in luck now. Don't stop. There's no fun to be found. We can't find paradise. All we have to do is go. Free your soul, Dragon Soul. That's what I got for you. Wendell 2020 says, "Wouldn't it be cool to see Vic in a big Hollywood movie? Also, would you ever want to have Nukes Taku on your stream? He's an anime YouTuber. He's a really funny guy and is really similar to you. I think it would be a great show." I'm open to it. I have no idea who that is. I'm open to it. I love talking to interesting people. So, all right. Crusader Saracen says, "I'd ask whether or not they'll add Rooster Teeth to the lawsuit, but frankly, Rooster Teeth is already suffering enough." Unlikely. There's unlikely going to be anyone added to the lawsuit or anybody, any new charges. Guys, anything new they bring will get TCPA'd. Inquisitor Lockhart soon. Angry Baneling says, "Andy No stream coming." I wish. I would love to have him on, but I have never talked to him. Jay says, "How likely do you think you are to be subpoenaed by the wife beater again?" Very likely. Very likely. And it will be a fun thing. I think even if Vic loses, there is a likely outcome. A likely outcome that Ron comes after me. And I cannot wait to waste that little marmot's money. I will waste all of it. I will do nothing but waste his money. And I will do it within my legal right to do so. Nothing nefarious. Nothing below board. Everything on balance. But I will waste every fucking red cent you want to spend, you idiot. All right. Jay continues, "I still think the funniest part of the lawsuit is all the lawyers who thought they'd get awarded the GoFundMe and Lemoyne getting cucked on agency by Martinez." Yeah, anyone who thought they were going to get the GoFundMe was an idiot. A judge can't just take money. All the judge can do is order Vic to pay something. Can't take money for a GoFundMe. That would be silly. People donated money to a specific purpose. The judge can't just repurpose that. All right. The hell? Hold on one second. Whew. Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Colonel J says, "Looking fresh, pimp, but where's your suit?" God, it's upstairs. I have 2 new suits that I got. I got one for my grandmother's funeral, and I got another one because I was at a suit store, and I'm bigger than I was. Probably fatter. I should just say fatter than I was. But yeah, so I have 2 new suits, but they're upstairs. I don't want to wear them on it's 1,000,000 degrees in my office already. Yo mom is my mom. Says Ron Toye is such a pussy he would break his wrist punching a pillow. Agnes Ange says Vic case AMA. As far as people in the anime dub industry who actually support Vic, would it only be good to publicly support him if Vic might need more fuel against the other voice actor / Funimation for the case? There's no benefit. There's no benefit for another voice actor to support Vic, unfortunately. The way the industry's set up, anyone who publicly supports him is going to get crucified. I wish it weren't that way, but it is. I think that's clear. I've talked to voice actors who range from I support Vic, he's a good guy, no he didn't do any of this stuff, to I really wish Vic had his day in court. That's all. Like, that's all they want, Vic to have his day in court. And even those people, even the he deserves a day in court people, are afraid to even say that. Because if you say that, well, you saw what happened to Ruben Langdon or whatever. A neutral position is enough to get you canceled. Okay, Victorious Mignanis says, it is now that we perform our charge in fealty to the God Emperor, our undying Lord, and by the grace of the Golden Throne, I declare exterminatus upon the imperial world of Typhon Primaris. Wait, what do you mean that planet is just Monica Rial? Oh, no. 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 Silky Johnson says, hey, Nick, did you see the video of the peaceful protester being set on fire by the Molotov cocktail of peace? I'm ready for the... I did. Very funny. I'm ready for the commie barbecue. These idiots will soon have to change their pronouns to was, were. Also join the wiped / unwiped revolution. Drop it and dip. That was funny. I love the little dance step trying to get the fire off. You can't get Molotov cocktail off your feet, you idiot. Barack Obama says Marky looks like a centaur from Fallout New Vegas, except fatter and uglier somehow. Silky Johnson says, Nick, I'm loving the story. It has highs and lows, tangents, comedy, what ifs, and all kinds of good stuff. I would totally listen to a story narrated by you. Take a story that's 5 hours and stretch it into 20. Also, who slays the big teeth dragon at the end? Hopefully Ron does in his final fit of revenge. In Lemoyne's voice, sing, revving up my engine, listen to my wheezy roar. Lungs under tension, begging for the wheeze, let's go. Highway to the wheezy zone. Right into the wheezy zone. I'll take you right into the wheezy zone. Gonna take you right into the wheezy zone. Okay. That was horrible. Dungeon Master says, even if Monica, Ron, Jamie, and Funimation win on appeals, would you say it's more or less a Pyrrhic victory at this point? I think this case has irreparably damaged them. So yeah. I mean, it's important for them to win. It's important for them to win, but it's irreparably damaged them. And they can go straight to hell for all I care. I think I'll say it before. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I hope they get ground into dust. I think they're terrible, terrible people who ruined a man's life for their own convenience. Fuck them. Fuck them. The worst things can happen to them, and I won't shed a tear. Now, again, I don't want anybody to do anything to them. but I'm not going to cry over their misfortune. I hate people who try and leverage the mob to cause damage. That's exactly what they did. Fuck them. Bring Stabity. Says Rackets, I hit 50 followers on Twitch and made affiliate. Not bad for streaming a sleazy mobile game. Sadly, my only time to stream is during your stream. I'm only able to catch the tail end of your streams or the replay. Oh, well, that's fine. Enjoy the replay. By the way, there's more clips coming. I have several clips from the Tug and Me live stream queued up and ready to launch. And there will be plenty of clips from this stream, I'm sure. More than one are coming. So that's a new facet you'll see soon. Crusader Saracen says, would the appeals court remanding the case back to the lower courts be the same as the appeals court overturning the entire case? Yeah, I don't think the appeals court would remand it back for like another run at the TCPA because all of the deadlines have long passed. So if they send it back, they'll be overturning it and sending it back to the lower court to proceed. Communist on Fire says, hello my baby, hello my honey, hello my ragtime gal, send me a kiss by wire, baby my heart's on fire, if you refuse me, honey you'll lose me, then you'll be left alone, oh baby telephone, and tell me I'm your own. As in the voice of a frog. There you go. Okay. DLV says, mirror to BitChute. Bad vibes. Says, I heard there is a Twitter quake because Kiloton Tucson doesn't like the idea that Kyle was defending himself. Kiloton Tucson is an idiot. Some nobody. I didn't forget the end of the tune. I don't know it. I don't remember it at all. Let's see. Cashew Matthew. I don't think I ever got to the end of it. Cashew Matthew says, just want to point out that the stream where you watched the Sophie case in court was your 666th video. I should have quit my YouTube career immediately then. Angry Bainling says, don't be late on your return from break stream. I wasn't. I was not late. Derek Bambinex says, news at 11, not late and gay. Angry Bainling says, woo, you look like the next James Bond, Nick. Oh, thank you, I think. As long as I'm not the one James Bond who got tied to a chair and had his balls hit by a tennis ball. I'm watching videos. Says, the Sophie stuff makes me sick. I legit can't watch it, but I'm glad you are covering it. But I won't be watching more. Glad more hear about it. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough dealing with that stuff. He also says, how can we financially support Vic nowadays? The GoFundMe. The GoFundMe, or go see him at a convention. Or if he decides to release some sort of product, buy it. So far, I'm not aware of anything he is specifically working on. What would you guys... I mean, I know the answer to this. I'm going to ask you anyway. If Vic was voicing a major character in an American animation that was not anime at all, would you guys buy it? Would you guys crowdfund something like that? What do you think? Do you think we could raise like $250,000 for an like the first episode of an American animated show? I think we could do that. Like if there was other good talent on it, right? Like not some hack job, not some rando person like, oh, I've got an anime. No. Like actual legit animators, good writers, stuff like that. I think that we could do that, right? I think, yeah, not me. Let me be clear. Not me. I have no experience in animation. I don't have experience in production. Like if you ever catch me on an animated project, I'm probably a voice. That would be the only thing I can foresee myself on in any real capacity, is like just doing some dumb voice in a background somewhere. So, like, let me be clear. I'm not doing a project that would involve Vic before anybody gets any weird ideas. That would involve Vic and like animators. I would only grift that. No, no. If that were a thing, it would be someone else doing it. Someone with like actual skills and know-how. SM Skorks 89 says, don't forget to mention that Vic will be a guest at Savannah Collectifest this weekend. Yes, Savannah, Georgia, guys. Savannah Collectifest this weekend. If you're in Savannah, go. Put on your mask and go. WiseMax33 says, hey, Nick, did you hear that the Right Stuff got the physical release license for interspecies reviewers? I guess Funimation's efforts to hide the show are ruined now. Great! That's awesome. Fantastic. Big elf titty girlfriend for everybody. Cabria Cousin says, if you were a voice, it'd be a character to just say, how embarrassing. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I'm watching videos. Says, by the way, I meant support him entertainment-wise, not legal-wise. Yeah. So far, I don't know. Go see him at Savannah. Go see him at a convention, or wait for him to put out a product and buy the shit out of it. Cringe Lord says, in your opinion, does a lack of orals help, hurt, or not affect your opinion of chances for Vic? Initially, I was a little concerned. Once I found out that they weren't doing oral arguments at all, completely neutral. There's no read on it. There isn't a way to read into it at all. So, once I found that out, doesn't affect my opinion at all. Kiss of My Ass says, Nick, I have an argumentative essay on revising USC 47 S230 protection clause. How would you recommend I argue? Focusing on media platforms. Woo! I would argue that extreme caution needs to be taken in any revision to 230, that the protections of 230 for the everyman are critical, but that some platforms reach a specific and pervasive size that they are no longer entitled to the protections of Section 230. Figuring out what that pervasive size is your job. I would argue it's somewhere around 50 to 100 million users. And that 230 protection should be preserved. So for things like illicit material that they do make a good faith effort to remove, but that it should be removed for political based censorship. Good luck. I'm watching videos. Has subscribed as a paralegal. Thank you. Eclipse Warlord says, looks like I'm late today due to a neighborhood rib cook-off. Oh, you lucky scumbag. The best in the West Nugget rib cook-off was canceled this year due to restrictions. I love ribs, man. Oh my God. Ruby Stone says, hey, Nick, just finished getting through my own lawsuit. Work injury. They refused to pay. So here's money. It's not much, but I hope it helps. God bless. Hey, thank you. It does. Every little bit. Every penny is appreciated, and I consider it only as gain and blessing. Because you guys don't have to give me anything at all. So I thank you. I thank you. I'm watching videos. Says you didn't read mine though. I did. There's the way I do super chats, if you're not familiar, is I do 20s first and I do everything lower than that in order later. So sorry that I didn't get to yours right away, but we did get to it. Blue Marvel says Kyle Rittenhouse is innocent. So far, he still is until proven guilty in a court of law. I think he should be innocent. We'll see how it plays out. Bad Vibe says Vic has music, direct-to-video movies, live action, and other projects like Star Trek Continues that may benefit him if it is viewed. I don't think Star Trek Continues benefits Vic. I don't think they can monetize him. While not direct financial support, it may help to show he is worth having on a project. He is worth having on a project. Absolutely. To deny that is silly. Nardo Polo says, well, you know, Ron and Monica got to save something for the wedding night. That's never coming. It's never coming. If they actually get married, Send me their registry. I'll buy them something nice. Like a bunch of maxi pads for Ron. Robert says, apropos of nothing, there was a news article on puppy fundraising frauds on Google News yesterday. Oh, damn. Cal Larkin says, people think my GoFundMe is a scam. It's not. My dog's name was Darlin. She was a blonde Lhasa Apso. Please, I'm serious. I'm begging for kindness here. You can, again, I can't endorse any GoFundMe unless I know the person behind it. And you'll know that I am specifically endorsing a GoFundMe other than Vick's when I donate to it. Vick's I cannot donate to. They have been begging me to donate to Vick's GoFundMe the entire time. I do not do that. But every other GoFundMe that I ask you guys to donate to in any way, you'll know because I donate to it specifically. Two goddamn gentlemen says, most gentlemanly, Lemoyne, Ron, Shane, or Mars Girl. Shane. And that's embarrassing for the rest of them. Old Thane says, gotta go to bed. Work/tech meeting in the morning. Here's some simp money for our Griff Lord to help with your couch or some booze. Gotta watch stream while on the road. Have fun, everyone. Damn. Thank you, Old Thane, for joining and donating. CE says he was rolling nat 20s all night. Why not risk it? Alec G says, if Vic wins appeals, how long to go to court? 6 to 8 months. Rhinosaurus Rex says, have you seen the McFarlane 7-inch Primaris figures? Yes. Thinking about getting them since they are 20, but they seem a little off compared to Bandai. The Bandai ones are 100. They're huge, and I don't know that they're doing anymore. I'm going to buy some McFarlane ones. Have you seen the new ones, the Imperial Guard ones? Oh my God, they're beautiful. They're not McFarlane ones. They're something else. The Atomisk says, what does Ron Soye call the chronological order of the women of his past? A punchline. Fuck me. Damn. 200 Watt Studio says, Lemoyne sings Rod Stewart. I don't know this song. Hot legs, you wearing me out. Hot legs, you can scream and shout. Hot legs, you still in school. I love you, honey. Way off. I have no idea what that tune is. Caldeo the Horse says, rip the vest streak. F for Phil. Alec G says, Rekieta Law, if he wins appeals, how long will it take to go to court? 6 to 8 months. You got to have a discovery window in there. It'll be a mess. Eric R says, hey, Nick, hope you're doing well. I am. My choir director just found he's $10K short on England trip deposits after our tour company straight up went under. I know you said getting money out of people is not fun. It's not. Not fun at all. That's not hot-blooded. That's Foreigner, not Rod Stewart. Shane Leslie says, Moroccan bathhouses and special massages are what one properly does with a GoFundMe. Thank you. Thank you. 10 Gen Ken says, quite friendly, Nikki? How big's his hog? That's what I thought. Not friendly enough. Lost the case again, Nikki. 17-0. Squawk. Silver Wolf 0080 says, would you ever consider doing a stream with Viva Frey? I did a stream with Viva Frey. It's a Canadian lawyer. I think you guys would get along. Yeah, I like Viva just fine. I did a stream with him. I would do him again. He doesn't stream as late as I do, so it makes my show hard for him to do. But yeah, happily. Adriano Andrade says, not sure if this was asked, but Ron keeps saying Vic is accumulating 5% interest on his fees. I don't remember seeing it in the docs. Is it true? There is an interest amount on fees. I don't know if it's 5%. It could be. Yeah. Once fees are awarded, unless they are later modified, then there is hypothetically interest being added. A fee award, I want to point this out, is just a piece of paper. A fee award is just a piece of paper. Collecting on the judgment is different. Collecting on the fees, The interest, all that is different. They might try to go after every single penny. They might waste a bunch of money doing that. You can actually settle a judgment for less than what the judgment is. You can do that. There's all sorts of ways to go about it. So we'll see what happens. Or you can fight the judgment. You could just not pay. Vic is self-employed. It is hard to go after his money. Texas does not have favorable collection statutes. Can't take a house. You can't take a vehicle. You could maybe take a second house or a second vehicle. Depending on how you structure your income, you can't garnish wages. So getting that money is going to be really difficult. Okay. S. Cybertaz says, was Shane before or after Law Twatter got involved? Before. Matt Fields, welcome to Super Lawyer status. Thank you. Spinobi Mach 3 says, hi, Nick. First time donating. Hey, thank you. Been following you since after Rooster Teeth fired Vic. Today is my birthday. All I got was an 8-hour shift. Gonna party this Sunday, though. Thank you for all you've done for Vic. Well, it's been my pleasure getting to know Vic. That's been one of the most rewarding things about all of this. Getting to know Vic. He's a very cool guy, and I think he got a really shitty deal. All right. DOG Bira says, in Lemon's voice sings, I don't know. What songs are these guys? When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside, you gotta take a stand. Don't help to hide. Well, you hurt my friends and you hurt my pride. I gotta be a man. I can't let it slide. So there you go. Edwin Wriggle says, first super chat. Hey, thank you again. So if you had to guess, how long do you think until the case finally ends? I'm guessing 2 years. I would say officially, like fully end, at least a year, if not 2 years, because a Supreme Court appeal is in the books. Practically ends, though. Practically ends, I'd say 3 months if Vic loses. If Vic wins, another year, 2 years. Hard to say. I don't think the Supreme Court is going to hear this case. That's what I want to say. They'll put it out there. I don't think they're going to hear it. No one important says, run. Oh, this judge is letting us win and on a landslide? Well, guess his kids and pets are safe today. Aren't I a good person? No, Ron, you're a terrible human. No one important also says, thanks to this case, I now know just how awful English VAs are, especially from Funimation. Only like 15% are their good English VAs. So thank you, Nick. Hey, you're welcome. We'll put light on that. Put light to that. Shinku Toner says, donor sperm generally costs $900 to $1,000. If Vic loses, he should pay in sperm donations. Oh, boy. Okay. Andrew War Snowboard says, WWE missed a golden opportunity to have a match between Jean-Claude Van Damme and RVD, whoever that is. And I may never forgive them for not giving us that match. Okay. Mario Carter 13 says, percentage-wise, Vic prefers 36, 24, 36. Bad Vibe says, knives auction. I've still got to figure out what to do with that. I will try and work it out. I'll try and work it out. I found out I couldn't do a raffle, so that was a big problem. Some nobody says, never forget, they want us all dead as well. F them. True. Mario Carter 13 says, if Vic's innocent, why pop my Funko cherry? DOG Bira says, in Lemon voice, in time, you will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it, run from it. The mosquito still arrives. Heinrich Berndowski says, question, who's in control of the Law Archive Twitter account, which used to be used by your intern? Ooh. I don't know. I believe for at least part of the time, it was Catherine I'm giant and fat Tucson. But apparently, allegedly, the big own was that it was several people controlling it. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care who it is. Colin Archer says, "Hey, Nick, here's one of the 175 super chats I owe you. Hey, thank you. Make sure you come back and give the rest. That's a binding promise." Colin Archer says, "Also, you really should grow out your hair to a pompadour. Your hairdo looks pretty slick. No homo." Oh, thank you. Thank you. Edwin Riggle says, "An extra tenor for being the only person to get my last name right on the first try." Hey, thanks. Or, I mean, it was nothing. Eat Dirt says, "We need to fund a high-budget hentai or hentai dubbing company for Vic. Hentai is in high demand in Pornhub, even with terrible dubs. Imagine if the dubs and animation were actually good and uncensored. That'd be great." Finally, Bad Dragonite says, "Can I get you to shout a battle cry of Nick Rekieta? Also, yes, I would totally crowdfund something Vic did." Nick Rekieta! I don't know what that's supposed to... What the fuck is a battle cry of Nick Rekieta? There you go. Nick Rekieta! How do you battle cry? I think you have to be motivated. Lemoyne says, "Crawling in my lungs. These wounds, they will not heal." Okay. There we go, guys. There we go. We have finished the chats. Now, Bad Vibes ruining it says, "Catherine 2-ton or kiloton Tucson, which is funnier?" I like Catherine 2-ton. 2-ton. They hate when you call that chick fat, but she is. Colin Archer says, "Show me your war face." Michael Tynan says, "Hey, Rick, just glad you're back and grifting." Hey, I am back and grifting. Always be grifting. Always be grifting. ABG, gentlemen. Always be grifting. Always be grifting. AIDA, attention. Do I have your attention? Interest, are you interested? I know you are, because it's fuck or walk. Donation, have you made your donation to chat? And action. AIDA, go and do likewise, gentlemen. Sprite Cola says, "Maybe try a Leroy Jenkins approach to the war cry, just not Leroy Jenkins." He's got a 2-syllable first name. That's cheating. Cody Byers says, "Have some money." Hey, Cody, what's up, buddy? Mario Carter 13 says, "Viva Frey smashing your like button from behind." Damn. Damn. What's this? Hated 7 Days to Die says, "I am late to the party. Hope you are all good." Hey, thank you. Thank you. We are good. We are good. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. Colin Archer says, "Keep reading my chats, Nick." Oh, yeah. Do it. Do it. I will. I will. But it's time for the outro. Come join me on Twitch. We will watch Nowhere to Run with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And it will be magnificent and glorious. I'm going to go make a snack between shows. Thank you for joining me tonight. Join me tomorrow night. We will have another live stream at 11 p.m. Central Time. And it will be fun. That's all. That's all. Tomorrow, I believe I will briefly have DA Talks on to talk about some recent shit involving shitty webcomics and a guy named Liam Gray. So be prepared for that. It will only be a part of the show. Will not be the full show. But that'll be interesting, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But I'll have them on, and then I will probably invite Liam on to tell his side of the story at some point too. But just so you know, we'll have that And then we will do some other stuff tomorrow as well. But we'll see you then. Have a good night. Peace. Peace. Oh, shit. I got to get the... I got to get the right sound thing on here. Go. Oh, guys. I got some Surface headphones. Surface headphones from Microsoft. These things I'll show you. They're just Bluetooth noise-canceling headphones. I have learned to like music again because of them. Because I spent a lot of time with the noise canceling on, the kids running around, breaking shit at camp. I put the headphones on, couldn't hear anything but music. Oh, it was amazing. Amazing. Get yourself some noise canceling headphones. They're great. I don't care if you get the Surface ones. I got them, and I like them, but get some. And just quiet the children in your life. All right, guys. We'll see you over on Twitch. Someone asked how long till the movie starts. Probably about 10 to 15 minutes after the show ends. All right, guys. Have a good night. Peace. Peace. The time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an art bag about more of that frog. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all Phoenix Lord Asserman says, welcome back, Nick. Bring perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now.